Johnny like a melody, 3x3 legend in the house, and he's solving like na 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 every day, trying to be better than he hang. Johnny like a melody, 3x3 legend in the house, and he's solving like na 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 every day, trying to be better than he hang. Remember the first solve of worlds and it looked like he would win, thinking everything's fine, but the very next time he took the dub again. Who would have ever knew that he would be on top of the game? He's real worldwide, that's how we do, and everybody knows his name. ZB, like nobody else knows. ZB, got the TPS. ZB, got the total control. Know that he's the best. Johnny like a melody, 3x3 legend in the house, and he's solving like na 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 every day, trying to be better than he hang. Johnny like a melody, 3x3 legend in the house, and he's solving like na 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 every day, trying to be better than he hang. Johnny like a melody, 3x3 legend in the house, and he's solving like na 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 every day, trying to be better than he hang.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Speed Cubing TV and Collegiate Cubing YouTube channels. It is going to be a fantastic set of matches today. It's the Collegiate Cubing Championship. We are into the elimination bracket. I'm very, very excited to bring these two matches to you this evening. Manu Singhal alongside Dylan Miller, one of the best speed cubing experts in the world. Dylan, we are so back. The dynamic duo is back once again for the first time since 2024. Could not be more excited. Dylan, how are you doing, my friend?
Dude, I'm doing good. I'm really excited to see these matches. I commentated some collegiate cubing stuff maybe a year ago at this point, man, last season, and I'm ready to see some high quality solves for all these competitors showing out for the universities and stuff. It's gonna be really exciting.
Yeah, dude, it's going to be just incredible. We have some of the best teams in the entire league. You know, it is the elimination. We're into the playoffs now. The big dance continues into April. And we got three of the teams who we think actually have a chance to win it all. We're going to have Columbia in the very first match. They're going to go up against Virginia Tech. And then in the second match, UW-Madison is going to go up against Rutgers. That is going to be a pretty stacked match, but let's go back a little bit. We got to go to the Columbia match first. Columbia, the number one ranked team going into the round robin sets. So there were 32 teams. We've eliminated them down to 14. The number one team was Columbia, and on the back of who else? Matty Inaba, the North American record holder with a 4.72 average in official competition, getting that in dynamic fashion in Rhode Island last year at US All-Stars, which also served as the national championship. Dylan, what do you see in kind of the Columbia team? What do you think is going to carry them to victory? And what do they need to get done? And what do they need to get done right if they're going to win this match against Virginia Tech?
You know, man, one of their first two solvers just needs to get a match. I think Matty is capable of beating pretty much anybody else in this bracket. Like, he obviously, like we said, he's the North American record holder, arguably best solver in North America. Like, as long as they just get one set, I think I'm not entirely sure about the format, but one of the first two sets with one of the other competitors in his team, I think Matty as their anchor is going to be able to clean this up and pretty comfortably, especially going against the Virginia team. Their anchor is Ben Christie. He showed out to a few of my local competitions, and yes, good solver, but Matty pretty comfortably better than him, obviously, as the North American record holder. So as long as they just get a few sets in, Matty can clean this up pretty comfortably, even though his set median for the tournament so far is only like 5.8. He just got eliminated out of Monkey League. He will definitely be able to get his sets down. So all they need to do is just get that clean and then let Matty do the rest.
Indeed, yeah. No other Monkey League solvers, I think, in the remainder of this bracket, so he doesn't need to worry about any of those guys. This is a good opportunity for me to explain the format, how it's going to work. I actually participated in the Collegiate Cubing League. Our team was not very good, mainly because I
saw that.
Very good.
I did see that.
I got some good ZBs in there, and honestly, I'm glad.
Okay.
I made the highlight reel. I think in 2 weeks, highlight reel. So I'll take it. But yeah, so this is a team format. If you haven't figured it out already,
yes.
Each team has 3 solvers, and the slowest solver gets matched up with the slowest solver on the other team, and then they play a set. Each set is best of 5, or you can call it first to 3 points, and you win the set. You want to win as many sets as possible. If you win 4 sets, you win the match, and you advance. That's it. But there is the potential for a tie. You could tie in the number of sets, 3 sets to 3 sets. Oh, right. That's each player is going to go up twice as well. So 6 total sets. But if they tie 3-3, they're going to go into the tiebreaker set. If we see a tiebreaker set, that will be probably one of the most hyped things I think we've seen in any sort of competitive cubing environment, especially in a team format, which is going to be very interesting. As we're talking about, Matty could probably solo anybody. Actually, he definitely can solo anybody
100%,
who's remaining
actually.
in the bracket. There's no one else who is really close to his caliber. There's several top 100 competitors still left. I think we're going to see Zeke Mackey, I think, in the Madison bracket. Ethan Jan, for example, is barely holding on to the top 100, but still sub 6 solver in his own right. But yeah, Matty's going to destroy it, and it really is going to come down to the other 2, which you might not have heard of. Zep Samuto is going to be the starting player for Colombia, and then in the second spot is actually going to be Kimberlyn Calderon, who's actually a pretty old name, and I think she used to hold the female North American record. Also, I think
my understanding, yes, I think Danny Yee took it from her.
Okay, yeah. And so 2 very capable solvers in their own right, but I think they're going to actually be matched up pretty closely. I was looking at some of the stats for the first matchup we're going to get, which is going to be, I believe it's Zep versus Benson. Benson having an 818 average of 5 official PR. That was actually only just a couple weeks ago at the tail end of March. And then Zep Samuto, 832. That was actually just the week before that. That'll be fun. Day. Yeah, so these 2 guys are solving quite well, and it's just a matter of fact, or rather just a matter just to see what's going to translate onto the actual field. Again, it is a singles based format, so there's no averages calculated. If one team gets 3 points in a row, then that's it. That's just the end of the set. Dylan, you've been involved in a lot of singles based formats in the past. How does the singles based format vary from the average of 5 that you do when you do your rounds?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty similar, all things considered. I don't think it's too different, right? Your mindset throughout all of these solves is going to be just do the best that you can, right? If you're in an average of format, you want to ignore the times you've gotten previously and just try to get as clean of solves as possible. So we want to see these competitors here just focus on each individual solve, get as clean of results as they can from solve to solve, and then hopefully we'll see them get some very fun competitive results.
Indeed, we surely hope that the competitors, live up to their expectations. We'll be really excited if we see a sub 8 solve here, especially starting off. But of course, as the match progresses, we will get faster and faster. And then the second, you can maybe call suite of sets is going to be really interesting because that's going to be the make or break.
Most definitely.
And we're about to get started here. So here's Sep. He's sitting on the left-hand side of your screen. And then we got Benson Kim on the right-hand side representing their universities. We haven't had a major collegiate format in quite some time. I remember back. Okay, so we're gonna go back to the old days when I was in undergrad.
Of
We
course,
had-
the boomer talks about the past. Dude.
Yep.
What do you expect?
We gotta reminisce about the past, man. There was something that was done. It was like an intercollegiate type of like tourney or something, but it wasn't live streamed and it wasn't a singles format. You would just like do your I think like 3 people would do three averages, and then they got like median or something, and then you would compare those against other schools, and then that was it. There was just like you would just do it like every month or something, and it was like a monthly contest. But there were no real stakes on that. There's not like a bracket. It's not being streamed to everybody. So I'm really excited that the folks behind the Collegiate Cubing Championship, they've done a lot of work to kind of get things kind of up and running, and where we're seeing like cubing becoming more and more of like a collegiate sport. We see it in the other aspects of speed cubing through like the WCA has a head-to-head tournament now, as well as PSL and Monkey League. So it's exciting to see collegiate cubing kind of get into that groove. Looks like that was the first solve of this match coming out from Benson, starting things off. Virginia Tech will. That looked like a 10-second solve to me. A little bit hard to tell with the camera, but certainly in Sep's wheelhouse to beat.
Yeah, we'll see here. Coming out from first off from Columbia, taking some time to inspect.
Yeah, white cross the choice. I think most competitors are going to be doing white yellow cross. That just seems to be the standard these days. I like the controlled turning here, even though he ended up with J perm at the end, 866. He didn't like overturn it and try to just blast through like like your typical blue collar solver. Just kind of going through and making sure that you get the result that you want, because you know that all you need to do is beat a 10. So you don't need to do anything crazy there. Good solve from Zep to take the first point.
Manu, I hate to call you out here. That was a T perm. He did a really cool.
That was a
AUF
T
trick.
perm?
He does the U F prime L prime UL solution. That was really, really nice. And unfortunately, yes, like you're saying, very controlled TPS. But when you're turning at a very controlled TPS, you're at the mercy of the cases that you're getting. And that last pair that he got there was unfortunately a slightly longer one. There's nothing you can really do to avoid it. There's no other alternate solutions he could have done. But 8-6. Right in the wheelhouse that he wants to be in.
Dude, call me out all you want, because that's why like I'm sitting here and I'm not competing in this. That's great stuff. Alternate Alex are really cool.
Oh my goodness.
Nice little U perm there. Just a fluid solve all throughout. 778. That's great. We want to see sub 8s coming out from these guys.
Yeah, the solve is really, really clean. I mean, like, pair-to-pair, transitions are clean, nice COLL into U-Prime plus U2. Like, this is exactly the type of pace you want to be on if you're Columbia. This is very, very solid.
These scrambles looking pretty decent, at least from what I can tell for white-yellow. Looks like Benson is going to choose the yellow cross. Can he get it done? Didn't quite look like it. Yeah, that's going to be a 9-second solve. So Columbia is going to take 2 points to 0, and now Virginia Tech is going to need a reverse sweep in this set if they're going to be up. Yeah, Columbia putting the gas on early.
Yeah, from my understanding, CCC is going to be a first to 4 format, actually, so it's best of 7.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but Virginia Tech, from their leading solver here, we want to see a little bit more controlled turning. Seems like maybe slightly nervous, turning a little bit too fast. The pace isn't great. Pauses between pairs. You need to clean that up if you want to make your way back in this set.
Of course, nerves are always something you need to manage as a solver at any level, and certainly not very easy when you are representing your university and such. It looks like there may have been either some sort of mistake or some missed pair during F2L. And we're gonna get another 9-second solve, 967. So kind of needing Sep to make some sort of mistake here if Virginia Tech is going to take this point.
Yeah, too many U moves trying to transition between pairs. Similar problems from the first 2 solves. Transitions aren't great. Need to be able to clean those up. Find those pairs a little bit earlier on. Recognize them coming out of slots and all manner of F2L look ahead positions. You can't just rely on the pieces being right in front of you.
Some nifty stuff coming out from Sep here, especially on those first several pairs. A little bit, that may be the mistake we're looking for. That's actually still going to go for him because he's going to get 9.4 with that +2 versus the 9.6. So Colombia is going to take the first set here, even though, Sep turning a little bit slower and, making that, +2 mistake there. Just a 3-0 clean sweep.
Yeah, in comparison to the first few solves of this set, the look ahead wasn't as great, right? There was very bursty TPS plus some pauses, and that led to some problems here. But very fortunately for Colombia here, it didn't really lead to too much time loss, right? Just from a coach's perspective, right, we would want to see those solves be a little bit more fluid, solves be a little bit cleaner. But even still, with that +2, you're still getting that solve. That is a very, very fortunate situation to have there for you. Most of the times, the +2 is just going to be detrimental. There's no way you come back from that. And Colombia manages to take it out there on a clean sweep, 3 solves to 0.
Yeah. I mean, just good stuff there. And I guess if you're Colombia, you were saying at the jump, Dylan, like you want your first 2 solvers to grab sets, and the mission already accomplished there. So, I mean, if Kimberlin can get this one, then they are solidly in the driver's seat. We're probably going to need to see something similar to what happened to Matty when he was going against Timofey. Not able to start the timer, stuff like that would probably need to happen in order for Virginia Tech to be able to claw back into it.
Man, too soon, dude. Too soon.
Yeah, a little too soon. I didn't even watch it yet, so you kind of spoiled the Monkey League for me. But I mean, it was just gonna be tough. There was basically no way for Matty to make it out of there.
Yeah. And like you said, he doesn't have to worry about any of those very high-level competitors. Matty cannot start the timer on 3 solves and probably still very comfortably make his way out of a set. So, we're hoping that we see some really good times coming out of him. But, every solver here gets 2 sets to compete. And, like we said, as long as one of the 2 solvers grabs a set in one of their 2 matches, they're in great shape. There's very few people in CCC that can match up with Matty.
So here we go. Yeah, Kimberlin is going to start the second set for us. Liking kind of that bursty TPS. Looks like kind of locked up a little bit at the tail end of OLL. Not a fantastic solve for her. 8:29 is the time to beat for Chris Medina.
Yeah, the solve is relatively clean, right? Bursty TPS, there's a few pauses. We saw with the last solver, like, yes, you can get away with a few bursty pairs plus, like, recognition pauses. For Kim here, I think the solve is okay. Clean up some of that turning accuracy. You're going to be great. That solve is closer to 7.5 than it is 8.2.
Here we go, Chris now unfortunately messing up cross MTU to M2. That's basically going to spell the end of this one. Yeah, as we just wrap up PLL here, just put the solve behind us and let's just move on to the next one. 12 seconds here. He's going to start the next solve here, but Colombia's up 1-0.
Yeah, most definitely. You just want to put this behind you. You mess up cross. You chalk this up to just like an absolute mistake. Mistakes in solves, especially in high-pressure situations, like you can't let them affect you. You recognize, hey, I did this wrong. I'm going to fix it for next time. If I clean up some of these things, my solves are going to be cleaner. And hopefully, we have a better shot at winning this one. That start there just instantly sold it for him.
You got to listen back to some of your own commentary, dude, during your round. Could help some of your solving too, like that.
8 seconds.
Solve number 2 now for Chris. Chris actually, I think, doesn't have an official WCA profile, so his average solve he averaged across the round robin stage 9.33, so it doesn't really stack up super well against Kimberlin. That's a 9.4 there. So I guess compared to the previous solves, yeah, relatively average.
Yeah, very similar story to our last solver from Virginia Tech. Bursty TPS, pause, recognize pair, pause, recognize pair, pretty much the whole way through. Same for OLL, PLL. You just want these things to be a little bit cleaner, right? So potentially turn a little bit slower. Maybe there's some active work that needed to be done in actual look ahead, or maybe prediction from OLL, PLL, F12 to OLL, stuff like that. But, putting himself in a better spot than he did last time.
Certainly, yeah. Also starting the solve this time as opposed to going second. Kimberlin was kind of pausing a lot and making a couple of mistakes there, including, a missed slice, but it didn't really matter. 7.9 wins the point, and that's all that matters. Even if you make a mistake, it's okay as long as you're just faster than the other guy.
Yeah, I mean, similar stuff as the last time. Only 0.3 off for Kim. I mean, Olo, slight lockups, like the Og's a little bit long. You know, you do get that U-perm here. I don't think the U-perm necessarily saves her. It puts her in a much better spot and allows her to take this set or this solve a lot more easily than if she got like a N-perm or V-perm or whatnot. But, you know, similar story here for both of our teams. You know, want these things to be a little bit cleaner, turn a little bit slower, be a little bit more controlled. You might see a little bit better times.
We got a lot of oriented edges here. Like, I think, there's one angle where all yellow edges are oriented. Kimberlin's going to go for the white cross instead. Kind of making a little bit of an exec error, and unfortunately a bigger exec error. E-perm, not the best out to get 9-0-0. That is a beatable solve.
Yeah, I mean, look, based off the first two solves from Virginia Tech, like this is pretty comfortably, you know, gonna win. I mean, we'll see if we can break that trend here. Hopefully we see that happen. But, you know, for Kim here, you know, wide F on that third pair leads to a little bit of a harder transition going into that last pair. And then not to mention you get like a pretty mid OLO, like fat double inverse into diag swap. Not great.
And let's see what the time ends up being here. 8.4. So that is the first point that Virginia Tech is going to grab in this one. It'll be 2-1. Great work. Grabbing even 1 point against this stacked Columbia team is certainly no small feat. Good work here.
You know, I'll take some blame for the commentator's curse here. Okay, 8-4. You know, similar story. The thing is when you're pausing a lot between pairs, and you know, from these competitors, they average like, you know, sub 9, mid 9. The pauses aren't too long, but any pause is going to lose you time. And so the efficiency of the pairs when you're not influencing these things is very, very important. And on that last solve from Virginia Tech, it was just a lot more straightforward, a little more efficient, clean, allows them to get that win.
This one is a lot smoother. It's still a little bit pausy. Nice OLL there. Going into PLL. Overall, a much better solve, and the time reflects that as well. 8.03. That's a whole second. That's actually way more than a second cut off compared to the first several solves. So this is a good comeback. At least put yourself into the match.
You see that smile from our Virginia Tech competitor. Like, this is exactly what I've been saying we kind of need to see. The turning's a lot more controlled. The pace is a lot better. The transitions are better. And you believe it or not, you turn slower, your solves are faster. 8-0.
Kimberlin's turning pretty fast herself. Not too bad transition to big lockup there. It didn't cost her the solve though. 7.29. All the good work that she put in at the front end of the solve really paid dividends here. Even though she made a mistake, she's won the set. Now Columbia's up 2-0. That's a pretty commanding lead at this point.
This is great from Cam. Bursty TPS, no major pauses. Lockup in PLL here is the biggest time loss. This solve is on pace for probably like 6-7, if you will. Like, this is pretty good. This is pretty good. And, you know, comfortably taking that set. You know, very happy to see that. And now you've got your anchor coming in from Columbia. You're already up 2 sets. We talked about how this is kind of all you really need. You know, shout out Ben Christie from Virginia Tech. I've been to comps with bro. You know, we've played poker a few nights. Like, great guy. You know, taking a break from Cuban for the last few years. Matty should pretty comfortably take this out for Columbia here. So, I mean, we'll see how it goes. You know, anything's possible. Like you said, we've seen Matty not start the timer, have problems. You know, all manner of things happen. And even in CCC, I've seen a bunch of very interesting upsets. So, you know, we'll see how it all plays out.
Look, in a format where even I can get a couple points, like literally anything can happen. So let's see.
That's very true.
Let's see what Ben can bring to the table here. 7.77 official WCA average. That is actually over 3 seconds behind Matty's official average, which is kind of crazy. Z-Perm to wrap things up here, 8.07. So yeah, I mean, as long as Matty starts this to solve and his cube doesn't blow up, he should be good to go. And yeah, we're just about to get started, and we're about to see Matty's first solve in this bracket of a CCC Season 2.
Honestly, this is pretty clean from Ben. It looks like he did 3-look last layer. He did like F inverse on like that S sexy sludge alg into, you know, T COL PLL. I'd be interested to see how the rest of his solves go because that looks pretty clean.
And
Oh my
on the other side, we just see like a classic Matty solve, like just amazing turning all throughout. He's in a league of his own. That's the first sub-6 solve we've seen. 5.76. I mean, what
First
else
sub
could you
7
want?
we've seen too, by the way. Just
Yeah.
to clarify. Yeah, no. Obviously, Matty, CN solver, has the ability to get a lot easier cases. This is pretty lined up with his median so far in the CCC tournament. You can tell that he's not very happy with this, right? The thing that we always talk about with Matty is that his turning in competition can be a little bit inaccurate. And you'd be surprised, especially at Matty's level, how much those tiny little turning lockups really affect your time. I've noticed this in my own solves. And, if he just cleans up some of that accuracy, the solve is closer to like low 5 than it is 5.7.
Yeah, and almost effortlessly at that. Yellow cross now. I mean, the first two pairs just disappear instantly. Matty with one of the best transitions from OL to PLL in the entire world. 5.28. Another fantastic solve marred by just a few lockups here and there.
And that's beautiful for Matty. We have a decent sized pause from first pair to second pair, but then everything after that, super clean. No major pauses. Transitions from OL PLL, very, very clean. 5.2. The lockups have a lot less than in the last solve, and he's put himself in a very, very good spot to take this solve over Ben.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why he third place at the national championship last year, the current North American record holder. One of the best solvers in the world, was invited to Monkey League for a reason. A smooth solve, actually, from Ben Christie, but the +2, I mean, he kind of had lost the solve probably the moment he picked up the cube, to be honest. But, the smooth solving is good. That's what you want to put on display.
See, this is what I was saying, right? On solve 1, Ben gets an 8-0, but the 8-0 is not necessarily what it seems like, right? Like, that pickup there loses him about half a second. That solve is probably closer to like a 6.9 than it is a 7.4, and he seems like he's in solving pretty good form, if I'm being honest. I think Ben, barring like a pretty big throw from Matty, could take a point here. Maybe even 1 or 2. I think he's solving pretty solidly, and we have a few other another set between these two, so we'll see how that goes.
Exactly, yeah. It'll be interesting to see what the competitors learn from this first set and carry into the second. Unfortunately, the cube fumbles here, lost him the point immediately. I can't even really see the time. I think 8:26 is what I see there. It should be just a walk in the park for Matty. He just needs to pick up cube, solve cube, put it down in less than 8 seconds.
I gotta say, look, maybe I'm glazing Ben a little bit here. That solve does not look like an 8-2. Okay, that solve is pretty solid. Big lockups in PLL, but the transitions are clean, and that's the biggest part of your solve. Like, I think Ben is in pretty decent form if he can just clean up some of those lockups.
Red cross for Matty is the choice. I mean, once just exploding, but way too locky. I'm actually shocked that was 5.7. That with how locky that last layer was, I thought it was going to be way worse than that. But Matty has gotten 5.7, 5.2, 5.7 to just sweep this third set. Columbia is guaranteed to at least go into the tiebreaker now.
Manu, look, yes, slightly locky, okay, but the lockups came only in PLL. Like I said, the bulk of your solve is going to be in that F2L stage, and his F2L was very, very clean, and he locks up only like that last bit of the OLL. He gets like a not great case, but 5.7 here, he's not happy with that. You have that really massive lockup, and of course, I think it's fine. Like you said, Matty has so much room to play with to get these solves on the other anchor from the other teams. Like, he can get away with this pretty comfortably and still absolutely sweep the set.
The man is a cheat code. I mean, what else do you want me to say, right? Like, you got him on your team. You unlocked. I remember back in the day, I used to, when I would play GTA 3, I would just love playing with the tank because the tank would just destroy everything. Matty is the tank right now, coming at the end of this first set of sets. 3-0 is the score. Columbia is looking good. Except trying to lock it in for his team. 7.95. Pretty solid solve from him. That's certainly very, very, very competitive.
Yeah, based off our last set, the solve seems like it is putting him in a good spot. We got some tricky situations. We had diag pairs for third and fourth pair. We do a wide F on fourth pair. I think overall, the solution wise here, it's fine from Columbia, but could definitely be a little bit cleaner. I don't think it's entirely unbeatable.
This was kind of an interesting cross because it looked like White was actually was actually facing them here, but then like kind of almost like an X2 to kind of put it back onto the bottom face. 10.75. Columbia will take the first one here in set number 4.
Yeah, it looks like there were some turning things here. From me as a coach's perspective, I would say there's some turning fundamentals that could have been a little bit cleaner on that solve. A few too many regrips, a few too many lockups. It seems like we also had diag pairs, maybe even 5 pairs on that solve. Put it behind you, clean it up a little bit, focus on just getting clean transitions from first pair into second pair, and then keeping that going for the rest of your F2L. You're going to put yourself in a much better situation.
One thing I think we haven't mentioned yet is where, what the context of this match. This is the quarterfinals. The quarterfinals have already started. Several teams have already advanced. The winner of this one, looking like it's going to be Columbia, is going to go up against OSU, Ohio State University, OHIO for anyone in the chat. That will be in the quarterfinals to come up later. +2, unfortunately, that's going to be putting your team a bit further behind. 8.9, that's going to turn into 10.9. Let's just call it 11. 11 seconds is not a particularly good time here.
Yeah, unfortunate lockups throughout this solve. I mean, also wide F, some lockups on that wide F solution. This is why I don't generally recommend it. It's a little bit more consistent. Look ahead isn't as great. Rotate, solve the pair with RU or LU gen. You're going to be getting yourself a much more consistent solution.
Sep, 11 seconds is what he needs.
Great pace.
Based on his turning, he got it in the bag. 7.23, great solve from him to claim point number 2. Columbia now 1 point away from guaranteeing advancing into the quarterfinals match.
Yeah, this is awesome. I mean, pace in the SF2L is great. No major pauses. Same TPS speed. This is the thing. You can turn fast, but if you don't pause, you're doing really good. The reason why we turn a little bit slower is that our look head gets a little bit cleaner. And here from Columbia, like, the pace is maybe a little bit faster than what he's able to consistently hit for very clean look ahead. But on this solve, it works out great. He has that sledge to get the EO, does the OCLL, great GB execution. Like, you had plenty of time to spare here too. And the pace is great.
Yeah, I can't really complain if you're Columbia. I mean, there's only the 1 point that was dropped in the second set. But other than that, I mean, it's been kind of just complete domination. Looks like we have a miss scramble. So we'll get that fixed up before this next one. But yeah, it's just been complete domination and hasn't really been super competitive, which is maybe to be expected in the first round of the bracket.
I mean, this is seed 1. We've got the NAR holder on the team. Like, come on, man. I hate to say it, but I love my man Ben. Ben might get us off on Matty, but that's if we get there. We have to see Virginia Tech get a reverse sweep here to keep themselves in this match.
Except now the match winning point here, potentially getting a lot of pauses. Y2, not really what you want to be seeing, but he's still going to end up with a 7-second solve. 7.94, bailed out a little bit by cases, perhaps.
Yeah, I think that this is again the wide F. When you see that big pause from him, he hits that wide F and then he does a look back to find pieces. If you rotate, solve that pair, the odds that you're going to be looking ahead a lot cleaner to that next pair, a lot higher. And here, he gets a 7-9. It's just because his turning's pretty solid and the cases were fine.
7.9 seconds is the time to beat. Pretty big pause there. Unfortunately, yeah, it looks like the F2L not quite coming together here for Virginia Tech. It's going to be a 9.8. At least it was a sub 10 to wrap up this set. It's going to be 4 sets now for Columbia. Columbia has won the match now. I'm not sure if we're going to play out the other 2 sets. I'd certainly love to see it.
Pretty sure we do.
Love to see more.
Yeah, I mean, that's all just... You can see it in that last pair there from Virginia Tech. Just pretty solidly long pause, and just it's all encompassing kind of everything we've been talking about, right? The solves are just a little bit pausey. Solutions are okay, but when you're at that speed, you need to either have your turning be really, really good with quick recognition time, or your turning needs to just be like okay with no recognition time. Very, very clean transitions. Neither of those things are really happening for Virginia Tech there, and we'll see how the rest of this goes. Obviously Columbia's already won this match, but it'll be interesting to see if they can come back and clean some of their stuff up in these next 2 sets.
Only honor on the line now at this point. Try to win as many solves as you can. Represent your school well. Well, both teams have already represented their school quite well, making it into the single elimination bracket from the get-go. Interestingly, actually, Columbia, the number 1 team coming into CCC, but the way that the bracket is seeded is actually based on the I think it's based on the team median from the first round, which was the round robin stage. And with that, actually, Columbia is actually seeded as the number 5 seed. They've actually ended up in the same side of the bracket as Berkeley and Ohio State, which is going to be pretty tough matchups for them. So who knows? It's going to be a long road ahead. This side of the bracket is quite stacked as Virginia Tech gets started with this set at 9.11.
Yeah, just you could tell. Just again, we need to clean some of these problems up. We need to turn a little bit slower, get our transitions better. Even if on this solve you turn slower doesn't actually lead to better times, then you can speed up after you've fixed some of your issues.
Some great like fluidity coming out here from Kim. F2L looked fantastic there. 7.70 the time to show, winning the point there as well. I mean, pretty solid solve. At least like the first half was certainly fantastic.
Yeah, really clean from Kim. I mean, you get that OLL. It's really easy to look ahead into PLL. Very clean, honestly. Like I think the cases were a little bit long because there was no major pauses. The turning was pretty clean, but when you're at this like sub 8, low 8, mid 8 speed, you're at the mercy of the cases that you're getting. It's whenever you get to that like sub 7, maybe low 7 range that you're going to actually be influencing the pairs that you're getting, and that's when you see some of those situations where you can have pauses and you're still getting those really nice sub 7 times.
Going into solve 2 here, it feels like, Kim kind of picked her orientation very quickly. That's a good sign. That's what we want to see. That means that the competitors are able to plan deeper and deeper in inspection, which means the solves, in theory, should be better and better. A pretty solid solve from her here, even though it was slower than the last one, 8.22. Dylan, what did you see in that one?
Yeah, I mean, pretty similar story, right? There was one pretty sizable pause. I mean, for most people, it's actually a pretty quick recognition time, but for that third pair we could have seen that be a little bit cleaner. And then last pair is going to be an 11 mover, and like I said, you're at the mercy of your cases, and you just hope that you get as many 7 movers, 3 movers, 5 movers as possible.
So with 8.22 as the time to beat, what can Chris put up here? He did get an 8-0 in the last set against Kim. Looks like a 7.08 here. So so he's going to grab another point and tie up the set 1-1.
Looks like a +2. Yeah.
Oh, is it a +2?
Yeah.
Oh.
Looks like there was an
darn.
OLO skip on that solve too. That's a spot where you just need to clear that up, right? Like that you can't really let those nice type of lucky situations get away from you. Here, I mean, transition's pretty solid, but we get this OLO skip on last pair. Boom, we hit our F perm. Looks down at the timer, doesn't get that last AUF move. +2, ends up being a 9-0, losing to that 8-2 from Kim.
That's tough. It's tough to see the +2 switch the point from winning the point to losing the point. Basically, it's kind of like a 2-point swing, and every point matters here in CCC. Here we go. We're just going to wrap up this one. Actually, a pretty solid one. Yeah, that's a sub 8 time. That's going to be competitive as well. 7.48. Good solving from Chris there.
Important thing to mention here, there's a pretty sizable block on both white and yellow. There was a pair on yellow. We saw that Chris took advantage of that. Kim, you see here looking at that green-red pair on yellow. That's something that we're going to try to be building off of. Anytime you get something that's pretty straightforward like that, you expect a slightly better time.
Indeed, she's going to preserve it all the way into her first F2L. Unfortunately, it looks like she didn't look far enough ahead, needing to pause a little bit. And now we're going to get another E-perm here, a 9.18. Just couldn't quite get everything to line up for her. And Virginia Tech will now take a point. It will be 2-1. Chris has gotten 2 points off of Kim, the only 2 points that Virginia Tech has gotten so far.
Yeah, just lockups from Kim here. It's unfortunate. I mean, there's a lot of rotations from pair to pair. Like I said, you're at the mercy of your cases. You look ahead to a pair, it's misoriented. You have to rotate. You rotate, you do that again for 3 more pairs, and it's going to be a little bit more inconsistent from a turning perspective. It makes sense why Kim gets a 9-1 here. The lockups are really the biggest problem there.
She can still clean up the set here just by putting it away right now. Looks like she's staring at the yellow cross. Yeah, really, really looking pretty deeply at that one orientation, trying to plan as far as possible. Looks like it bore some fruit here as we go into the last layer. 7.84 could have been a bit faster, but 7.8 is very, very solid.
I actually love this solution from Kim. Like, looking at the pairs, everything transitioned really well from one pair to the next. Look ahead was good. Everything was relatively solid. You know, that last layer, slightly tricky to execute, but gets away with it pretty decently fine. I think this solution is honestly great from Kim. And so, you get that PLL there. I think maybe even some OLOCP there.
Chris, now can he stay alive in this set? That little fist bump suggests so. Yeah, 7-0-0. It's 2-2, all tied up here. It'd be a great, consolation prize for VT if they can grab one set off of, a team that's looking like could win the entire tournament.
Seems like Chris here really thrives when there's a first pair that's very straightforward, right? Not to mention his last layer is F sexy F prime U perm. This is very good, right? But his transitions become a lot cleaner when there's a very obvious first pair that you can build around, keep to move very little, and then if he does that, it seems like he's transitioning well into the rest of his pairs and giving him those better times, those sub 8s.
Yeah, it makes. I mean, you keep talking about the cases you get, right? And it's not a crime to get lucky. If you get an easy case, then sometimes you can just put that away without even looking at it. So helps your look ahead certainly. G-Perm to wrap up this solve number 5, the deciding solve 7.9. Yeah, once again a competitive time. So this is a good comeback. The first 2 solves we saw from Chris were not, I think, 2 9s, and now ever since we're seeing a lot more competitive solves. Which is good to see. We want to see the action.
Yeah, I mean, very clean overall. Like, there's still confirmation checks is what I would call them from pair to pair, where you probably could do the moves a little bit sooner. But overall, 7-9, that's super competitive against Kim.
Now, in inspection, Kim was actually going back and forth trying to decide what solution to do. Looks like whatever thing she picked was the best solution there. 6.91. That is going to win the set for Columbia, stealing it out from the under the noses of VT. 5-0 now is the count.
Yeah, I mean, it's a similar story for Kim. Very bursty TPS. We would like to see the transitions be a little bit cleaner, but overall, like, really, really solid. Like, the last pair especially lost her a decent bit of time, but OLO PLL, very good turning, pretty accurate everywhere else. It's just those pauses that kind of ate up into the solve time overall and led to the, what could have been probably closer to like a 6-5.
No, it'd be +2s.
Regardless, doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is the point. That's going to go in the books. 5-0 is the count now on sets. Columbia already advancing to the quarterfinal round where they will face the Ohio State University. But now on the stream to clean things up for this match here, we got Ben Christie, trainee delegate, representing Virginia Tech. And we got the hero from Hawaii, Matty from Hawaii, as he puts in all of his YouTube titles and such, representing Columbia, one of the best solvers, perhaps the best solver in North America, taking some time to figure out what exactly his cross solution is going to be. He's got yellow on the bottom at the moment, then moved away. Yeah, yellow cross is going to be the choice. Pretty big lock up there in the first half of F2L. But, I mean, the best last layer, perhaps in the Western Hemisphere, strikes once again, a 5.64.
Man, it's crazy. You look at Matty solves, and you just can't believe that they're 5s. Like, I love the man, talk to him all the time. But, oh, my goodness, like, that lockup, you see people get lockups, and they get through them pretty quick. Matty, it seems like you look at his solves, and it's just, it looks like the lockups are so long, and then he just cleans it up for the rest of the solve, and it's a 5-6.
When you have that natural talent like that or whatever it is, I mean, you can afford to throw a little bit here. They're sitting back in the chair, unfortunately. Ben Christie giving up on this one. It's a tough call when you're going up against the best solver in the country, best solver in the continent. 11.69 is the time to come out for him.
Yeah, you hate to see it from Ben, man. You never want to give up on a solve. Look, I always say this to people. I say this to my clients all the time. If you give up on a solve and you get a last layer skip, how silly are you gonna feel? Like it sucks, right? You have to always keep it pushing, especially in a situation like this. You don't lean back in the chair. You don't give up on the solve. You keep it pushing. yes, this time's not going to be as great. You've already lost time in that pickup and that cross plus one execution, but you're going to lose even more if you don't take it seriously for the rest of it.
8 seconds.
Solve number 2 of the final set now. White crosses the choice from Ben Christie. Just getting through the rest of the solve. Actually didn't look like too terrible of a solve. 7.44. I mean, that's better than some of the other solves we've seen. And, not too bad overall.
Pretty clean from Ben. I mean, look, standard stuff. Very solid fundamentals. No major pauses, no major lockups, standard F12 solutions, great recognition from OLO, PLO. Like, on a great track here.
And if Matty +2s, I mean, it's very possible for him to.
Oh my god!
Forget it. Just forget it. I don't even know. I was gonna try and finish that sentence, and then Matty started turning, and I'm just like, nah. But what is speed cubing, man? What is Matty Hirota Inaba? 4.63. Just an incredible solve. The first sub 5
that F2L, dude. And it's crazy. Matty's still locky on this last layer. That F2L is so good. That F2L is like 2.3, 2.4. And then you get like 2.2 last layer with V-perm. It's soon. Transitions are great. Everything's amazing here. I really like the execution angle that he chose, where it was going to be cross in front, and then he chooses to do like the wide moves, get it on bottom. Like that's the mark of a high level solver, to be able to recognize things like that and then just turn through it and get those really, really solid times.
When Matty has his tail up, he might be the most dangerous solver in the entire world. When he's turning confidently and he's turning at just breakneck pace like that, I mean, yeah, it's really tough to imagine him down at all. Unfortunately, yeah, a little bit sloppy on the turning there, but still really solid execution. 5.70. He's going to try and make that the final solve of this match here and send his team off to the quarterfinals with a bang.
I think it's a pretty safe bet to say that this is gonna comfortably take this against Ben. Love you, Ben, but yeah, we haven't seen anything really come out of the Virginia Tech team that's proven that they can get something like this. Typical Matty solve, just locky in last layer.
5.7. In order to beat that, you have to beat his personal record that he set at official competitions. 5.82 would be that number. Looks like we're gonna miss it here, and he's gonna close things out with an 8.30. That will be the final solve of this match as Columbia wins this one in straight sets, 6-0, dropping only 3 points throughout the entire match. They are going to advance to the quarterfinals. A great showing from Virginia Tech, the number 12 seed in this bracket, advancing into the single elimination bracket. Their dance is going to end here, unfortunately, but a great showing from them. And man, what's solving from Matty to close things off.
Dude.
Couldn't have wanted the set to end
It's so funny on that 4-6. As soon as he finishes the OLL, he starts like shaking his head during PLL, and it's still a 4-6. It's insane, like his level of solving. Like we're gonna get the replay again, but this is so clean. Like this F2L is so nice for Matty here. Like this is Nar pace. Low key close to like 2-3 F2L. Like you see him shake his head. That's insane. Even doing that on the 4-6s, like very comfortably taking the win here.
Oh man, the guy is on another level. His standards are on another level. Just ridiculous stuff from Matty Hirota Inaba. And amazing work from Columbia. Dylan, based on what you see there, do you think they have a chance at taking the title?
I mean, dude, they're the first seed. Of course they do. If they saw how they did in round 1, like I don't see why they wouldn't have a chance. There's a lot of very interesting. The side of the bracket they're on is very interesting, where they have to go against Berkeley and UW-Madison, two very, very stacked teams, regardless of how the seeding plays out. Those teams, I think, are the biggest ones to look out for. We obviously have Ethan Jan on Berkeley, Heidi Chan on Berkeley, Calix Tang is their worst solver, right? And he's sub 8 official. So, Berkeley obviously has a very good shot. UW-Madison, from my understanding, won last season of CCC. So, they're not on the easy side of the bracket by any means. And the solving here, fine, but, they're going to need to pick up the pace a little bit if they're going to be contending with these other teams on their side of the bracket.
Yeah. Actually, it turns out that UW-Madison is on the other side of the bracket.
Okay.
Ohio State is on this side of the bracket.
Ohio State.
I mean, which is still not like a pushover because I think Ohio State got third last year.
Yeah, so they have Evan Wright, they have Phil Lewicki, and Jack Boning, I think. All sub-8 solvers. Phil Lewicki got 4th place at Worlds 2017. Very underrated solver, but obviously busy with his Monkey League stuff, busy with his own degree. All these people are currently in college studying. So shout out for them to even be able to make time to have these matches happen and put on a show for you guys. But
yeah, especially as we're going into April. We're starting
exam
to
season?
get into final projects. Okay, don't get me started on the final projects.
Don't even.
And we're only 1 month away for graduation for some people, or the end of the semester. So certainly a busy time, and it's just incredible to see the type of talent that we have here in the States. And yeah, just fantastic solvers all around. And yeah, we're going to bring you another match actually coming up in about an hour's time. That one is going to be UW-Madison versus Rutgers. I'm really excited for that one because those are two teams that could win the whole thing. But Dylan, right now we're floating out in space and it's podcast time.
It's Yab session, bro. I'm so
excited. It's time for the Yab session. It's time for Dillydally season 2, episode 2, whatever you want to call it.
I can't wait.
Did the first one ever get uploaded?
It did. Don't do me like that. I did post it. Okay, I edited it on my own. There was no live mixing like there is on Speedkeeping TV with the Millisecond podcast. We had to kind of cut your own audio together. It took you about an hour to get that uploaded to Google Drive.
Yeah,
we got it done though. We got it done. There's a few. I even uploaded a clip from that podcast on my channel. So we'll see.
We'll see. Dillydally episode 2 is on now. Dylan, I want to talk, first of all, we kind of touched on it at the jump, but I want to talk about team formats. Now, we've seen team formats show up from time to time. Most notably, if you've watched a WCA major, you might have seen a Regions Relay or a Nations Cup. And Nations Cup at Euros was incredible. Dylan, if you get to go to Euros this year, you're going to experience it. It's going to be crazy. They take it really, really seriously over there.
Do.
And now we got Collegiate Cubing, which, is again, a team format. Dylan, what kind of position do you think team formats have in cubing? Competitive cubing, for example, could you ever see a team format become an official format? And also, what do you think of the current formats that we have? We have kind of the relay, and then we have the set-based format.
Okay. In terms of team events being part of an official WCA event, I don't know if I necessarily like that. Speed stacking, cup stacking, they have those as events, and I think they have their place. I think they should stay in an unofficial context. Do I think they're really cool? Yes. Did I love participating in every nations/states relay/regions relay that I competed in? Yes. They're very, very cool. I love just any variety in the formats from a cubing perspective, right? All we want is just more ways to watch cubing. And I think the CCC is doing a great job of putting something on that is very engaging for people. Even if you're not a cuber, you can support your own school. I remember when I was in high school, we had an esports team. Dog, no one really played esports, but when the esports team came home with the W, best believe everyone was excited. You know what I mean?
Dude.
So
I
think if we can find a way to get cubing in the same vein as that, it just helps us reach more mainstream stuff. And I think we're on the right track for that going forward.
Yeah, I mean, certainly I think that's the case with collegiate sports, right? You can watch your local college sport, even if it's a sport that you don't really care about, but it's always good to see the home team come up with a W, right? Because, they're people or people you interact with in cubing, right? All these guys are going to local competitions as well. So, you interact with them, see them at your local competition too. And obviously you want to be rooting for them. I definitely think that was what made Euros 2024 Nations Cup so exciting, because it was after a very long day. We were actually pretty far behind schedule because of the Megamix scramble fiasco, where the same scrambles were used and the whole round needed to be redone, and actually changed the European champion, which is extremely unfortunate. So after that, I'm sitting in the Nations Cup, sitting up high in this arena in Pamplona, and I'm just like, dude, I don't really care. I just want to get this over with. But as the matches went on, I found myself getting more and more into it, and like the roars from the crowd when the United Kingdom wins a match, or when Russia wins a match, or Poland. God forbid Poland would win a match, because then the whole place would just come down. It was nuts, and it's like not even that. It's just like supporting your own team, supporting your own nationalities, and things like that. I feel like we haven't had the same reaction when we do like a Nations Cup or a Regions Relay in NA. So why do you think that is?
Oh man, there's so much going on. I mean, for one, I don't think people are as tied to their region as they are to like their literal country, right? Even in like a, in a non-Cuban context, like obviously you feel a lot more love and respect and dedication to your home country than you do the region of the US that you compete in, right? Like I will say, I think like Mid-Atlantics and Heartland, Great Lakes, like they had a lot of support in NAC 2024, where that is what it is. But me participating in Worlds 2023, the craziest thing for me, Team USA 2 actually got third place. I was on Team USA 2. It was me, Patrick Ponce, Samir Agarwal. That was probably one of my proudest moments in cubing, right? Genuinely putting on for my country, getting a chance to be the underdog in my country and beat the Team USA 1. Matty obviously DNF'd. Luke very graciously threw his last salt to us, that way it didn't look like a wash. But I was very, very happy about that. But one thing is, me, Patrick, and Samir went against China 1. And dude, when I tell you, I walk out onto the stage, man, and the whole crowd, and it's in South Korea, pretty decently close to China compared to a lot of other worlds. The whole crowd, China. It's crazy. It was the most engaged I've seen a crowd in a cubing context pretty much ever, right? It was insane. Obviously they beat us. We were pretty close, not gonna discount us. I +2 to solve in that match, so I'll take my L where it's due, but it was really, really cool, so obviously people are going to be tied to their country. There's so much national pride there. And I think as the US in of itself gets more competitive and the regions get more competitive and we put on higher quality regional championships, then I think you see maybe a shift in like the North American Championships, regions relay, stuff like that. But until that happens, we had a talk with Kevin Hayes about this on the podcast, where do regionals fit in? Where do state champs fit into what is a major conversation? I think we'll be pretty hard pressed to find a lot of regional pride at these continental championships.
Yeah, it's certainly. I think it also depends a lot, I think, on where it's actually held. Like, for example, like the places that you mentioned from NAC 2024, those are all places that are relatively close to Minneapolis. Minneapolis actually being in the Heartland region itself. This year it's going to be in Raleigh. So hopefully, we're going to see a lot more like East Coast representation, but it's pretty far into the Southeast. I think you'll probably see some like New England folks, some Mid-Atlantic folks, but I think, for us here on the West, it's a lot farther to try and
you and me
get
both,
to.
Man. You and me
yeah,
both.
Dude.
We're a bunch of West Coasters.
Oh yeah, you're identifying with the West Coast now. You're leaving the Bayou Boy moniker behind.
Well, I didn't say all that.
Okay, no, but yeah, I think it definitely is a little bit different. I think the other thing that's different is I feel like there's a lot of like movement between regions. Like competitors, like kind of like transfer. I mean, I was literally just in Nebraska today, right? So like that's like halfway across the country. People move around, I think, all the time, and I think that also like probably leads to like less of like a tie to like your region necessarily. But I think it'll be interesting to see. Perhaps maybe it needs to be just reshopped overall. I do think like a nations format is way stronger than like a regions format, and it just ends up that North America, we really only have 2 nations that are at the forefront. And so it kind of like skews things a little bit. Can't use the national pride.
That's what I was gonna say, right? Because NA is the only real one that has this problem where it's regions within the US plus Canada. It's not like we have like BC, team 1 and
Mhm.
Quebec team 2. I don't know Canada, but compared to somewhere like South America, right, where they have like Team Brazil, team other countries in South America, like it is a little bit different where there is that national pride, and it is the only real one that has this type of problem, I guess you could call it. Europe, obviously, every country in Europe, there's so much national pride, and they just want to
Mhm.
see each other. They just want to see themselves do well and be representative, and that's always super cool to see. And then, especially on a world stage, man, oh my goodness, it's crazy. Like I was at Worlds 2025. I was randomly sitting somewhere in the crowd, and then the dude next to me happened to be from Hungary, and he's cheering on Team Hungary, and I'm like, yeah, dude, respect. Like, I hope
Yeah.
Hungary does well, good dude. And like they got a solve. I think they even won 2 matches, like pretty underdog matches too. And they're popping off. They're going crazy. And I start talking to them, and I'm just like, wow, like, shout out Hungary. Like I didn't, obviously there's people from there, but like I don't really think about it much when I'm watching Worlds. But like them getting 2 matches is so huge for them. And I talked to some of those guys from Hungary now, and they're great lads. So.
Yeah, there you go. And certainly I think, as far as speedcubing is such an international sport, an international hobby, and being able to have that representation, one of the coolest things I think from Worlds is like the flag walk, where like, it's the opening ceremony and you have people carrying their flags. One of my friends who lives here in SoCal, Farabi, carried the flag for Bangladesh. He was like one of I think like 3 competitors from Bangladesh who like was at Worlds, and he was just like, yeah, like it's such a huge honor to be able to like bring your country to the national stage, especially when it's like an underrepresented country. And it's just incredible. I was talking to Dan Smith this weekend. He's telling me 110 countries the WCA operates in. So the Rubik's Cube has spread far and wide.
That's insane, man. Like even being able to operate that at all is so cool. And I think one thing we don't really appreciate much in cubing is like, it feels kind of, I don't know how you feel about this. It feels a little bit Mickey Mouse from time to time, at least for me, maybe because I've been, my relationship with cubing is way different than other people. But there is something to be said for, you bring your flag out, and it's beautiful that you can be somebody that represents your country. And obviously they're never getting me to bring the flag out, dude. We got plenty of other people that can do it. But for you to be like in a world scale, like a relatively okay solver, and still get the chance to do that, that's super, super sick.
No, yeah, totally. And I think the representation is good for speedcubing because we're all about inclusivity and everything. So I'm hoping that we get to see a little bit more of, especially since the Continental Championships are happening this year. I'm hoping that we get to see a lot of representation from a lot of different nations. I'm going to be glued to the European Champs live stream. I'm trying to see my boy Dilly make it to finals, do well. All the European guys. Going to Euros was so cool. So many people that you just never thought of and didn't know, just like all performing for their countries, doing exceptionally well. I mean, the European scene is incredible. Shout out Europe.
It's funny you mentioned me attending, because I think I'm now 23rd on the wait list. I signed up, I was 38th. And the flight's going to be expensive, man. The flight's going to take a little hit to the account, but I think it's going to be worth it. The Netherlands is one of like my dream countries to visit, and in-person millisecond in the tent is going to be fire. But yeah, no, if I attend, obviously they're gonna bring the foreigners up first. They get to compete kind of in their own group, and that is what it is. But yeah, if I solve well, that'd be cool. If I make finals, that'd be cool. But I don't want to encroach on their territory, so to speak. I'm very glad just to get the opportunity to even be able to compete, because I don't know how long that is going to be the format that we're using in the WCA.
Right. Yeah. There is some talk of like doing like region lock stuff. I mean, okay. I had a different topic in mind, but let's move to this, because North America actually is also going to switch to this type of like foreigner representation, whatever you want to call it. Where I think in 3x3 finals, it's going to be done in the traditional head-to-head style. 2 competitors are going to go up and alternate solves. It's still going to be the average of 5, but the foreign competitors are actually going to be solving first. So kind of taking a page out of the European book. Then I'm kind of curious of what you think about some of these changes.
Yeah, look, I to me personally, maybe this is just like the area I grew up in cubing. It doesn't really matter if somebody is not from the region and they compete against someone from the region, because ultimately it's not a head-to-head format where your existence is directly impacting someone else's potential to place well. Yes, maybe you take spots from somebody, but that doesn't change whether you put them first or last. Like, you're not going to just kick them out of finals and say you don't get a chance, right? So I don't see a problem with doing it. I understand that you want to just make the representation for your country a lot better, but I also don't see a problem with not doing it and having just them compete against other people. Like, what does it really matter, right? Like, I don't know. I think at NAC 2024, it was cool to see Kyle and Nam and Timon compete against people that were also very good, that seated near them. I don't think that's a real big deal. But I understand where they're coming from. And I think talking to Kevin on the millisecond, like, I think is a necessary change that needs to happen for the growth of cubing going forward.
Interesting. Yeah, I was not a fan of when they did this at Euros 2024, but specifically because when they did it at Euros, they had the main stage area where they put like I think they had like they had 20 finalists, and I think they put 16 people kind of on that main stage, and then they had 4 stations off to the side. What I really didn't like is that those 4 stations were also physically lower. Which
that does
I
feel bad.
Thought was not great. And the other thing, which is a little bit tricky, is sometimes I think Europe has this problem more than the US does. Is sometimes you have competitors who don't represent a European country but live in Europe.
Yes, yeah.
The biggest one I remember was I'm blanking on his last name, but his name is Prabhav. Back then he used to represent India. Now he represents Ireland. He lives in Ireland. But just because he represented India, even though he like competed in Ireland, he still had to like sit off to the side, and unfortunately, like also had to sit physically down. So I'm hoping that those types of things kind of get cleaned up. At North American Championship, it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be the top 4 NA competitors. They're going to be in the first 4 seeds, regardless of whatever their seeds are, and then everybody else will be seated per their seed, which I think is a little bit better. I think it's better than just like, physically just taking the foreigners and moving them somewhere else. It's more so like, well, we're reserving the front, the prime seats for the NA competitors, and then everyone else is just based on merit. I think that's a little bit of a better system.
I would agree. Yeah, it does feel pretty bad when you feel like physically like lower than somebody else, and that's something that Europe has done in the past, but besides the point.
No, but I mean, it's all learning, right? It's all like learning to see like, okay, well, what works, what doesn't work, how do you lift up like people without bringing other people down, which can be tricky, right? Because necessarily there's only a certain amount of airtime on a live stream, and there's only so many people that you can show, right? Like, we want to have 20 finalists because we want to have a good representation of the community. Plus, one of any of these 20 finalists potentially could win the whole thing. But you also need to like kind of balance with trying to determine, okay, well, here's what's most important to our community. Here's what's most important to showcase. So it's certainly not an easy problem by any means, even though I've been critical of it in the past.
Same.
Yeah. Okay, let's move to my the original second topic that I was thinking of. I watched a video on the bus back from LAX this morning by James McDiarmid.
Good video.
Good video. To give you all some context for someone who haven't watched it. By the way, you should. James is uploading more and more on his channel. It's just James McDiarmid. And he has a lot of good stuff on there. So yeah, you should go watch some of his stuff. But that video talks about changing the way that we think about rankings and qualifications in official WCA competition. Basically, currently, we just take like your overall PR average of all time, and we take that as your ranking, and we also use that to qualify you into like North American Championship, the World Championship, etc. And the concept is to kind of move away from just like an all-time best and move into some sort of like weighted average, moving average, yearly average. Dilly, as someone who is, solidly in the top 50, I think you're like 21 now that Yishan knocked you down a couple pegs or whatever it is. What do you think? What do you think about having like a moving average, such a weighted average that kind of weights your current performance higher than whatever you've done in the past?
First things first, I watched James's video. I was 25th according to his metric, below some people that Kai-Chen, shout out the 4x4 goat from Guangdong.
Really? Below Kai-Chen? Really?
That's what I said.
I guess you do have a lot of 6 averages.
Okay, but whoa.
We do got to clean some of those up.
We have to clean those things up. But, for me, from a very biased perspective, I've always been a guy who, when I get a result in comp that's PR, it's like huge PR. So I'm pretty anti this, but no, from like an actual spectator of the sport perspective, I think this is ultimately the way to go 100%. We talked about Michael Nielsen not being able to qualify for All-Stars, even though he was the former North American champion. If there was something to be said versus just like he didn't get a good enough scramble set in a luck-based event versus like he literally is just slower on an average per average basis, I would think that's a more valid situation to disallow him from competing in a very highly competitive situation. I think it also shows kind of what the people who are actually like tapped into the community are aware of, which is that, just because your PR is something does not mean that you actually average that or are always capable of that or are better than somebody who has an average maybe even 0.2, 0.3 slower than you at the very highest level, right? I think Riley Dexter was very underrepresented in the world rankings for a period of time. He's counted multiple sub 5s, recently just broke OCR average, stuff like that. Somebody like that type of ranking system would have shown that he was a lot better than what his PR would have led you to believe, right? So, I don't know. I think it's very good. I think we need to work towards this. I think we can even create like a pro circuit or, tiered competition format, like similar to F1 that revolves around our rankings, weighted average stuff. And I think that's a lot more representative of the actual skill level of our competitors.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I mean, we're currently on like a 2-year cycle. You want to call it a season. Our seasons are essentially 2 years long, world championship to world championship. Of course, those are the culminating point of the season. That's exactly what everybody is aiming for. And I could see an interesting system where you have like some sort of circuit and then you have like a relegation at like the end of certain periods, or even like the way that they do the FedEx Cup is it's 4 weeks of golf back to back to back, and you need to have a certain amount of points in order to advance to the next stage. I think they start at 150, then they go to 100, then they go to I think 70 golfers, and then 30 make the final cut to play for the FedEx Cup. Which is like $1 million or something like that. Obviously, I'd love that kind of money in cubing. If we could just give the winner of Worlds $1 million.
Just get a quick little cash infusion of $1 million. That would be awesome.
We could just print it, right? I don't know what's the problem with that. But yeah, I mean that could certainly be a really interesting system. One thing I'm also curious to see is how it affects other events. My main event is FMC. And right now I'm on the bubble of qualifying for North American Championship. And the way that qualification is working is it's top 30 by average or by mean. And some people have really old means, and they got like a 22 mean or something a long time ago, and they haven't competed in FMC since, and they get put at the top, like ahead of anyone who is currently doing quite well. And of course, FMC has changed quite a lot over the past several years since Worlds 2023. So I think it would be really interesting to see how it affects other events. There's other considerations, for example, in multi-blind, if you're trying to go for the world record and it's like outside of your, you're like really like pushing like your capabilities, you're probably going to get a lot of like bad results, a lot of like DNFs, a lot of like 0-pointers, stuff like that. So I'd be curious to see how these things are adapted as we go forward. One thing I'm actually really curious to hear from you about is James had a system where the averages, well, first of all, the averages got turned into like some like arbitrary like Kinch like score. And then from the score, there were modifiers that were applied to the score based on what type of event they were at, if there was a final, if it won the final, world record, things like that. Curious what you think about some of these modifications, Dilly.
No, I think they're very good. I think the situations in which he's talking about sending to the waiting in certain spots make a lot of sense, right? Like you do want to value somebody's clutch factor, somebody's like ability to perform in a final, the amount of records they're getting, et cetera, et cetera. Like that is kind of what you would want to be doing. The actual like specifics of the way that he's doing it, I think maybe are a little bit overstated. Because I think in his video he said like Timon getting world record average in Worlds final and winning was like 17% better, which actually I don't necessarily disagree with too much.
Yeah.
Like that feels like that's like about a 17% increase from like a standard comp round.
Yes,
still,
17% sounds about right.
Yeah, 17, no more, no less.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I agree that there need to be modifiers. I think waiting in certain spots is good. The thing is I think he was saying like every final, like your results in there matter. I'm from a region that's not very competitive. And yes, if I win a final, it's like, oh, whoop-de-doo. Like if I don't win a final, it's like a catastrophic disaster. Like I broke my hand and like couldn't to compete. But, you know, I think from a region that's a little bit more competitive, maybe that makes more sense. But I don't think everyone values like a local comp final to the same degree that they would like a continental or regional or anything like that. So I think in that sense, maybe it's a little bit overstated. In the same breath, you know, weighting medals in that degree is a little bit harder too. So yeah, I don't really love it, but I think that the system in of itself, we can discuss semantics, we can discuss details, but it is what we need to push towards.
Yeah, some type of you can call it whatever you want. Like you can call it the McDermott rankings, some sort of power ranking. I think would be really interesting to kind of look at, because then week to week and month to month, you can kind of see how like these things kind of shift and evolve. Something I think about is like, I don't know like how many people saw Young coming. I don't know how many people. Well, definitely nobody saw Yishan coming. That's 1,000,000%.
Oh, dude, like, Yishan, the kid, dude.
Yeah, the kid, the goat, whatever you want to call him. Actually, no, the kid is good, huh? Because he's like the young goat.
The young goat. Yes, you get it. You get it.
That's genius. That's actually really, really, really good. No, he's definitely the kid now. Now that I think about it. Like, yeah. So I kind of wonder if like, you know, could you use this as like an indicator to see someone who's been like performing really well at like your local or something and is kind of being underrepresented in your global ranking, just because 3x3, for example, is like such an absurdly competitive category. And I wonder if you could use that. I mean, no thanks to you, that's for sure.
Okay.
But yeah, I wonder if you could use some of those like indicators to kind of like keep tabs and to see like, okay, like this person's
100%.
like progressed up like, you know, like 50 ranks or something like that.
Well, that's what he did in James's video. You could see when somebody went up or down. You know, I hate to say it, your boy went down about 3 ranks in relative skill level.
So washed.
Unk is washed, bro. I mean, like, yeah, you've seen the comp recaps, bro. Like, you know, we're not doing good. Like, yes, understandably so. I should get kicked down about 3 ranks at least. Yes, I'm washed. You know, obviously we can always jump back up, but yeah, I think the arrows indicating where someone has fallen or risen is really important for someone who's not able to degen stock live at all times. You know?
Yeah, I mean, especially with so many competitions around the world and so many top players and across 17 events, it certainly becomes pretty difficult to be on tabs for everything. I don't know how Roz is going to do it as he kind of like, you know, starts up this new secret project. Yeah, it'll be exciting, but in order to see it, you got to get this channel to 10K subscribers. Okay, I want to go back to one thing before we take a quick break. Tiered competitions. I think that's a really interesting idea. And actually, if you look at fighting game tournaments, they do exactly this thing. They have like their majors, their super majors, they're like A class events, B class events. And we already have some sort of like, you know, tiering as is. You got your typical local competitions, then you got your, you know, your regional championship, which is, you know, akin to national championships in most other countries. You got your continental championships, and then of course we have the world championship, where it's like, you know, the level of prestige, the amount of effort being put in to each of these stages is different. And I wonder if there's like a way to kind of like encode some of this, you know, tiering that we already have when it comes to results, and kind of like have some sort of system where you kind of like progress through the tiers even. Something like that I think could be really exciting. I don't know if you have thoughts on this.
No, I think this is really good. Do I have a structure in which I would recommend the WSA implement to do this? No. Like that is not my forte. I am just a man that makes suggestions with no implementable solutions whatsoever and expects the problems to be fixed. But
Excellent.
no, I think it's cool to do tiered comps. I think like it more expressly categorizing them helps. Just first things first, start categorizing them, and then you can start implementing like the outside things of like, okay, who can compete in these, what age do you need to be to compete in these, stuff like that, etc., etc.
Right.
But first things first is you need to formally recognize different tiered competitions. What is a state champ? Is a state champ a tier 1 comp? Do you like, maybe in current iteration it's not, but is it going to be in the future? If you want it to be in the future, do you just start calling it that now? Do you call it tier 2 and then say you're going to bump it up to tier 1 later on? Like, these are all questions that need to be answered. I would say every continental / obviously worlds is going to be tier 1, but you know, let's say you're in a region that's very competitive. Like, dude, the West is very competitive, bro.
Yeah.
I moved out here. I moved from one of the least competitive states to the most competitive state. Okay. Like, I've realized this the hard way. Do we call like Super Duper San Diego a tier 1? Do we call Western Champs a tier 1? Do we institute a committee that determines what's a tier 1 comp, what's a tier 2 comp? Like, I would say I've been to some regionals that are more competitive. I think California Championship, if that exists, is more competitive than like Rocky Mountain Championship, right? Like, that is like you know, so but it's like, but off merit and size, do you just call that a tier 1? No, I don't think so.
Right.
I think you base it off the competitiveness of it, and so you need to institute a committee that's going to be able to make that decision on a case-by-case basis.
Right. And it's not, it is demonstrably and empirically a hard problem. There's a great video from this channel I watch. I watch a lot of Melee content. And if you've heard this channel called Turn Down for Walt, great channel.
You're the GOAT.
Fantastic channel. We need someone like that in cubing, in my opinion. Shout out Walt. Love your videos. He has a great one on like what makes a Melee major, and there is no good definition. And so because of that, there's like some competitions or some tourneys that are like really competitive, but because they aren't classified as the major or super major, like people, it just like flies under the radar. And because the way that Melee does its ranking system depends on the classification of each event, it kind of like complicates like, okay, well, this person, I forgot who won the one specifically. I think he was CEO. That was like not a major. It was not classified as a major, but it was like just as difficult to win. I don't know if it was HBox or if it was Wizzy maybe. But it's like, how do you put this on the profile of this competitor? And how does that kind of translate over to like their overall skill or whatnot? I think it's certainly a very hard problem, but I think it is one that cubing is ready to start to address, especially as we see the level, like the difference in cuber is, I think, pretty similar between top level and like newcomer. To me, feels very similar to something like Melee, because you have people who just like pick up the game because they are like, haha, I love Pikachu, or I like Kirby or whatever. And then you also have people that are like, man, Steve is the worst character ever because he has like, I don't know, like frame 6, whatever, and cheats. He does cheat, by the way. I think Steve makes Ultimate definitely not very fun to watch. And so I think it's about time for cubing to start considering that. And I think I like your suggestion of maybe we start categorizing the events now and then go back and say like, okay, well, maybe our categorization was wrong, and then let's adjust the categorization before it actually has actual effects. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I mean, I've been saying we need like a committee of top level solvers for misscramble purposes to determine whether a misscramble is a valid or close enough analog to the real scramble to whether or not it should be allowed. I think that's the best way to approach it, but I understand it's a lot of work and a lot of top level cubers are boring and lazy and don't want to do that. So, whatever. But the same thing is true for, if you reach out to a bunch of top level cubers, I think the consensus on what is a tier 1 versus tier 2 is pretty set in stone. Putting in very rigid regs for what determines that, I don't think is fair to every competition. And that's where like there's a lot of subjectivity and case-by-case basis stuff that needs to be worked on. Like I think any comp in China is low-key a tier 1. Like just straight up.
No, China is built different. I mean, if you look at the other thing is like it varies from event to event, right? Because you can have a competition that's really competitive for like 3x3 or something.
Yeah.
And then you can have another competition that's like really competitive for like multi mayhem. That happened or the very first weekend of the year. You look at that by all the other metrics, it's like, oh, there's only 20 competitors. It's like not really of like the least popular events in the WCA. But then if you look at it specifically for M-Blind, it's like, okay, well, M-Blind, this is probably an S tier event. This is probably like just as competitive, if not more competitive than Worlds. I mean, Andrew Tao, who won it, was like, I'm much more proud to win this than I am to win Worlds, which is kind of insane, right? So maybe it makes sense to have it be a little bit more subjective. The way that I think Melee does it is that they do it based on number of attendees and also the number of top players who, I think like the number of like top 100 players who are in attendance, something like that, which is certainly a good start. But then I think you're right, like misses out on some particularly like edge cases. And yeah, of course, across all 17 events, I think is also very hard. Yeah, I mean, loads of cool stuff. Dillydally podcast number 2, not as long as the original.
First one was like 2 hours. Yeah, dude. I had you yapping for a minute.
We flew through that one. It did not feel like 2 hours. I mean, TBH, this did not feel like 45 minutes or whatever we've been yapping for. But we need a little bit of a break. And I'm sure you all are a little bit bored. You're like, I tuned in for CCC, and these guys are just going on and on.
They're not bored, dude. They love it. They love us, dude. What is it? The Manu second, the plus Miller, what do we want to call it, dude? Dillydally, whatever you want to call it, man, they love it.
Whatever you want to call it. Look, I'm always down for a yap session, especially with my boy Dilly. It's been a good one. I got to go to the bathroom. I got to get some water, and we have more matches
snacks,
to come up.
Chat, get some snacks.
Exactly. No, this is a good opportunity for you to get some snacks. And actually, we're gonna cut back while we're on our little break. We're gonna bring you back to actually a great moment of one of the hosts, and I'll tell you what, it's not me.
Dude, no, we're gonna watch some CCC Manu highlights. That's what we're doing.
You can watch that. You can actually watch that on the CCC channel. If you're watching on the CCC channel, I think it's like I think I show up in week 5. I have one. I got an 8 actually in one of my matches.
Oh wait, that's actually huge.
Yeah, pretty good. That was with a ZB, and then I had my own I know it moment. Where like I was gonna lose the solve anyway, so I'm like, okay, let me just lock in and see if I remember this one. I got it. So
congrats.
You can go watch that one. But we're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna bring you some a full match from Grand Finals, perhaps Dylan's best moment in speed cubing outside of 8th place at the World Championship in 2025. 2025 was a good year for Dylan Miller.
This is
we're gonna bring you over to Grand Finals from PSL San Diego. Enjoy the highlights. We'll be back in about 10 minutes to preview our upcoming match, UW-Madison versus Rutgers. Don't go anywhere, everyone. CCC is going to return after this short break.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Premier Speedkeeping League Grand Finals. Introducing our second seed from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Dylan Miller.
Let's go. Yeah. For those of you that want to know what we're all about.
And introducing our #1 overall seed, looking to go back-to-back in the PSL from Poland, Timon Kolasinski. Competitors in this grand final is going to be best 3 out of 5. First to 3 sets, you are each allocated 1 2-minute timeout with a 30-second set break in between. If Dylan wins, the bracket will reset and we'll have to go again. If Timon wins, you will be crowned the grand champion for San Diego.
Yeah, I mean, in the last one, getting that 670 after a weird error, but looks like he got to ZB pretty quickly, recognizing the soon ZB with no problem. 5.35.
The solve was not.
This is perhaps taking all 12 seconds of inspection and got to OLL extremely quickly. This is a 4.81. Amazing one is can find a more efficient solution. It would be Timon Koloshinsky. Here we go. There's that ZB now. 5.20. Not good enough. And all of a sudden, we are 2-2. Very similar to what he found in that last solve. If he wants to get a chance at resetting the bracket. 4.57. Oh my goodness. That was some kind of skip and all happened in a flash. Hey, like I said, it's not a crime to get lucky. Someone was going to get some kind of skip today. Can Timon beat 4.5? Even the wizard himself, not enough. 6.36, and Dylan Miller again solving well. You just want to keep going. Maybe that's what Dylan's trying to channel. And another. Oh my goodness! 3.49. Dylan Miller with a sub 3.5. Incredible solve from Dylan.
What was that? A 4, and then a 3. Dylan is on fire. This solve was incredible. Look at that. He's finished F2L so quickly. This solve was full step.
Full step?
No
full
skip.
step?
That was a full step.
Oh my goodness. Absolutely special stuff from Dylan Miller. He picked the right time to peak. Grand finals of all places against Timon Koloshinsky. Timon now 5.16. Dude, even if you're Timon, how do you answer that when the opponent has taken 3 solves from you with sub 5s and you haven't managed? Can Dylan convert? A big opportunity for him. 6.78 to beat. He's had some pretty good turning and a very solid, very, very easy ZB there. 5.33. He is up. He's up 2 solves to 1 on
Giving up a great opportunity there, given that OLL once again, but then the nerves of knowing that he could be up 2 sets to 0 against Timon Koloshinsky.
Wow, and this is big, folks. Wow, I wonder. You have to wonder if Timon is feeling the pressure a little bit, because, like I said, if he loses this one, that's a huge, huge shift in the match. We could be talking about 1-1 right now, where the first 2 sets basically didn't happen, or we could be talking about 2-0 Dylan up in this first match in grand finals.
To take a timeout, as he has not been doing some great solves in this set so far. Got lucky on that last one that Dylan didn't manage to beat a 672. And yeah, he's got an opportunity to even up the match now.
I mean, I think lucky is exactly right. I think Timon did get away with one there. Just the not solve here. Dylan Miller could go up 2 sets to none against Timon Koloshinsky. Needs to execute here. Fast ZB recognition, 5:02. Very, very, very solid. That is the type of time Timon needed, and that is going to put Dylan to that timeout if he kind of got iced a little bit. Surely Timon was just looking to do well himself, and unfortunately the long last layer was not able to do it. Dylan actually had a huge chance there of potentially taking this one. Not sure if it was a +2. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. And Timon got away with this one. How did Timon win this set? Ton against Timon this entire week in between Berkeley and San Diego. But his turning is just looking so good in the F2L stage right now. 5.87, a great solve. Very, very comfortable for Timon to do. 5.87 to beat. One of the best in the world. Soon ZB is the play. 5.54. Little fist bump from Timon. Timon is back.
That's when he wasn't supposed to.
Here's Timon now. Very smooth. Very, very smooth turning through F2L. Only complaint you could have is maybe a little bit on ZB recognition and the very last turn. but very comfortable, up 2-0. This is much more of what we're used to. 6:26 the time to beat, and it's just too comfortable for Timon. 4.84. Wow, that is a Timon set. The Titan Timon has woken up from his slumber. He is now up 2-1 after winning back-to-back sets. Very, very dramatic fashion, and he only needs one more to close this out and put an end to PSL Berkeley. Oof. Wow, what could have been? TV cameras are completely off right now. It's his to lose this solve. Just needs to beat 774, and he's going to do it comfortably. 5.7, and he is up 2-0. Now, can Timon reverse sweep and end the entire competition right here? An incredible solve from him, 4.37. He's pumped. It means so much to him because Dylan is almost certainly not going to beat that. Just incredible.
Just when you think Timon's out of it, he comes swinging back. A 4.3, a flawless solve, doing a ZBLS, which gave him a PLL case, and a good celebration from him.
But this is very, very interesting. Dylan up on set point, and this is a great start. Exactly what you want if you need to beat a 6. 5.67, the characteristic bang right there. And we're all tied up, folks. 2-2. Dylan Miller, Timon Koleshinsky, Grand Finals.
Bang, bang, but Timon is not dead yet. It is 2-2. And remember, although this is the grand final, Dylan came from the lower bracket. So if he beats Timon, they reset the whole match and they...
Deciding fifth solve of this first half of Grand Finals. Potentially the last half if Timon can capitalize. There's Dilly, flawless execution once again, 507, and he has put the dart right near the bullseye.
What a start for Dylan, some flawless turning. I said earlier I wanted him to have flawless F2L turning and flawless last layer, and that happened right here. Bit of a mistake.
This is nuts. Like, I mean, Timon is amazing, don't get me wrong, but an exec error in F2L means he's already lost it here. 5.74 is not good enough, and Dylan Miller in set number 5 is up 1 solve to nothing.
It's not a free win for him.
Yellow Cross is the choice here. Just an amazing F2L. No, absolutely no problems. Edge is already oriented. 5.62, 2-1 here, and that would be huge for him. You know, we're talking all about Dylan, but if Timon can just claw back, which it looks like he's going to do right here, Timon now is 1 solve away from just ending it all, and it just won't even matter that Dylan had an amazing run. He got a 3 in there.
But he's done it before. Can he do it again?
Oodles of edges are oriented here. Just needs to execute. A little bit of hesitation in OLL and a Z-perm potentially. 5.86. He beat it. Oh my goodness, it's just too simple. Oh my goodness, a huge cube drop, but he's got it. 5.71 in dramatic fashion. Dylan Miller gave him a run for his money, 3-2. But oh my god, Timon Koleshinsky, when it came down to it, backed himself and he did it.
Champion Timon
Just when you thought it was over. Wow.
Just amazing. Here's the solve that won it. Go for it, Chris Mills.
Yeah, the solve was looking flawless, and then as he got to the last layer, it was looking like it was all over for Dylan. This ZBLL, bit of a pause, but great execution. But towards the end, he drops the cube 1 turn away, grabs it, looks like he's lost the solve, but he gets it done just in time. A bit of a sloppy way to win, definitely not quite as flashy as he finished last week.
Welcome back from the break. Hopefully you enjoyed the Dylan Miller glaze sesh throwing on the PSL highlights, dude. Trust me, I did not ask for them to do that. They just did it on their own accord. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed it. Manu, so before we went to break, we were talking about a few things. We were talking about tier 1 competitions, and something that we talked about on the Millisecond podcast was if kids, specifically under the age of like 15 or 16, should be eligible to compete in whatever we categorize as tier 1 competitions. Okay. Given the recent WCA head-to-head debacle, we don't need to get into that too much, but the fact that kids are under so much pressure to compete at a high level, I don't think it's really fair to them. What are your thoughts on instituting an age limit for people competing in these tier 1 competitions, and what the effects would be on the community?
Yeah, I think that unlike other hobbies, other esports, cubing is and probably will always be geared towards younger people.
Okay.
And that's like not like your teenagers. It's like, your young teens, your preteens, that kind of, age range. And I think that an outright like ban slash age limit might not be super productive. But one thing I do want to see, and I think you guys talked about this, is like an age division where you have like the junior division, and there's like, some limit or something, and then at some point you transition into like not a senior division, but you can call it like the pro division or something like that, the intermediate division, whatever it is, and you hold like different, basically like you compete for different titles. Somewhat I think chess does something similar, where like if you're a kid, you can show up to a chess tournament, but I think you get put into like a juniors only bracket, which then maybe makes the competitiveness a little bit different. I guess it's still like the kids going up against the kids, and that's kind of leading to like some of the pressure cracking that we're seeing at the moment. But I think that you could, I think like an outright restriction on who can register for a tier 1 event would be tough. Either that, or I think that limit would be like pretty young. It would probably be like something like 8, 9, 10. And at that point, I don't really know if like an 11-year-old is that much different than like an 8-year-old in terms of being able to like go up and compete on the world's biggest stage with the most pressure.
Like, you're telling me that you were the same level of maturity, like you could handle losses.
Well, I've been the same level of maturity since I was like probably like 3 years old.
Oh my
gosh!
Let's be honest. Shut up, dude.
No, fair enough. No, that is true. Like young kids do develop like a lot in terms of maturity
from year to year. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Every year is a lot different for little kids than it is. But I still feel that, I don't know. I think it would be tricky. At least I'm not an immediate fan. I think I want to hear your thoughts, because I didn't listen to this part of Millisecond from last week yet.
So my thing is, right, look, I have been a high level competitor since the age of 13. First off, I was under so much pressure at the age of 13. I could not imagine being under that pressure at the age of 8. Okay. And then we're seeing these people like Yishen, Yunji Lian. They are literally 6 years old in the top 25, top 30. Okay. These people these children do not need to be under this amount of pressure or scrutiny from the community or whatever it may be, especially with the mishaps happening in the head-to-head competitions and whatnot. Like, not all that is on the organizational body currently, but to a degree it is. And so in my head, it's like, there's a few reasons why I'm in favor of an age division. Okay. One, I think it promotes kids to stay around in the community for longer. Okay. If you're an 8-year-old and you know that you can't compete in these tier 1 comps until you are 15, it pushes you to make a decision of, do I stay around for longer or do I not? And you can always compete in locals. You can always compete in tier 2 competitions. But in my head, it's like tier 1 comps would be the only ones eligible for head-to-head format, if that makes sense. Or say the WCA institutes a pro circuit, similar a la PSL, right? Where they have like these head-to-head comps entirely that are brackets formatted, seeded based off of moving average ranking like we were talking about earlier. I think making sure that these people are older helps that a lot. On top of that, if they're older, presumably they've been around for longer, and we can develop storylines around them, and the community gets more engaged with who they are as people and everything. And it makes the broadcast more engaging, right? something that I've been thinking about is like Monkey League, right? Is more competitive than ever. But why is Monkey League not getting as many views as it used to in the COVID era? One, the landscape of YouTube and just like the general internet has changed. Shorts is taking over and cannibalizing a lot of the views. But then on top of that, I think the storylines of the competitors aren't as developed, and the age of them makes it to where obviously it's not going to be that way, right?
Yeah,
like
I see.
in COVID, right? We had Matty, who was like an up and comer from like Hawaii. That's super cool, like kind of a niche little area. Leo obviously was doing like the sunglasses stuff, being kind of fun and goofy. Timon is the prodigy from Poland. And then when we first got our first wave of Chinese competitors, Yihang, Ruhong, they came in and everyone was like, oh my God, like these guys are the new contenders. Now we have so many of these guys from China. Like me and you, we are tapped in. We can distinguish them, right?
Yeah,
Most people,
yeah.
I don't think can, just being candid. And so giving them more time to develop and create their own character arcs and just grow as a personality, I think is the biggest thing. I think the PSL is super engaging, and the matches that have done really well were between two personalities: Matty, Timon, me, Luke, me, Kyle. I'm saying myself a lot because I've competed in every PSL. Okay, I'm not glazing, but that's where my head's at. From a broadcast perspective, it's much better when these people are older, as well as I'm someone who's been around. I have my own mental health struggles around cubing and competing at a high level. I don't want to push that on the kids, man. Like I've struggled with this for years and years and years, and like it is what it is. Like obviously that's going to happen if you're at the top of a sport, but the kids don't deserve to deal with that. And the other concern too is like, okay, well maybe this makes it to where like, Mills and I were talking, and he was like, oh well, if we went by over 16s at Worlds, like did you get third? And I was like, yeah, and I was 8th overall. Like he was saying the competitiveness of an over 16 division would not be as great as a under 16 division. And while yes, I agree in current day, dress for the job you want, not the job you have. I think the other factors that I listed previously are reason enough to where we should institute a type of age bracket, age division, age requirement to make the sport more watchable as a whole, and the competitiveness will come with that.
Sure. Okay. So some other things. I do think an age division makes a lot of sense. And I actually think that even if the over 16 and like, under 40, whatever you want to call that division, call it the Masters division, maybe. Even if that isn't as competitive as the juniors division, I think it still makes sense to put that as like the main highlight, main broadcast focus. And that another big reason for that is I think it is a lot harder to have sponsors come into a sport with kids. Agreed. Sometimes. I think that there are certainly complications. There are certain sponsors that you simply cannot have, obviously because you don't want to promote certain things to kids. And actually I think there are like laws and restrictions in many countries that prevent things like energy drinks, for example, for being advertised to children. Another actually interesting aspect, and maybe one reason why it's actually an argument for an age limit at a major competition, is first of all, the scale of the tier 1 competitions is ridiculous. And if you're a parent with your kid there, it actually is a little bit of a liability that, your kid gets lost or something, and that becomes like a major problem, right? And we don't want that to happen to kids. So maybe it makes sense to have some sort of restriction on like the competitors who are there also, to some extent. The other thing is, I think it's, even if you do have a juniors division, I don't think it's really relegating like the top solvers, Yihang, Shorni, etc. Because when they do age up into like this masters division, if you want to call it, it actually probably isn't you're right. I think it is an interesting story to follow because they have like some arc in the juniors division to kind of develop. The other thing is, I think it would be something similar to like Otani coming over to the States, where, like you see some like crazy results in, I don't want to call the Japan League like a secondary league, but it's a secondary market as far as the American viewers are concerned. And so you can kind of like see that like, hey, like here's a big deal. Starting this year, Yihang is now, qualified and eligible for a master's division, which means, the highest prize pool, the most prime time, whatever it is across the world. So I could certainly see that being a factor too. I think regardless, I think, and then one more thing is something my mom tells me all the time is like, why are you still going to competitions with kids? Like you're going to compete against these middle schoolers. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to dumpster some of these middle schoolers for what it's worth. When I go to a competition, I'm like in the top 30% of competitors, right? Like, yeah, it's still it's still slow, but I'm still beating a lot of kids. So I can compete with the kids for one, but I think it would also be interesting to have like even if it is like a less competitive, like master's division or whatever, to have, I think it boosts the competitiveness of it, because again, if you take away from like, oh, like here's just the objective numbers, here's like the objective times that people are getting, and move that to like, well, how are people performing is like a straight up win-loss, which I think, the WCA should, move towards, and speed cubing as a whole should start to move towards. I think you could still get like interesting, compelling stories and compelling broadcasts and events in general. So I think in any case, like and you see this with senior cubers. It's definitely hard for someone like seniors, they classify as over 40. It's definitely hard for a senior cuber to show up to a competition and like sit next to like some 6-year-old kid who is like way faster than them. But the existence of the senior rankings means that you have a goal to strive for, and some sort of achievement to get. And I think a lot of seniors have been kind of motivated in that way too. So in any case, I think some sort of age division makes more sense now than it ever has. And maybe it's a similar thing to the thing we were talking about like assigning competitions tiers. Maybe it's something where like you have like some unofficial way to like kind of look at it, and you kind of track it over some time, as like kind of a way to like experiment with it and see how it kind of plays out before like actually fully implementing it, perhaps.
The other thing I neglected to mention is I think if you institute an age division and you make the masters or just like over 16, under 40, the main event, I think it legitimizes the sport a lot more. It's hard to watch children compete against each other and be like, oh yeah, this is the highest level of competition. Right. But it is. And we're used to that. And I think, like you said, it's going to always be the way that is what it is. But I think when everyone who's competing is like self-aware and a conscious human being, maybe, it makes it to where you can appreciate the mentality of the sport a lot more, the quality of the solving under pressure a lot more. Everything around it just gets a lot cleaner. Okay. So that's kind of where my head's at. And I agree with you as well on the marketing. Like if we want money to come into the sport, we need to be marketing to a demographic that has more disposable income, or just a demographic where we can market to without excessive restrictions, So either way, I'm in favor of it. I think very clearly. I'm also a very biased party because if we start doing an over 16, like dog, I'm like top 5 in the world. I benefit very heavily from this. But for the sake of the sport, I think having it be an option is a huge benefit.
Yeah, I think certainly it would be interesting to track and kind of see like, okay, well, let's just have like some like unofficial sort of like rankings for people and see like how that motivates people, as like has been done with senior rankings. And we already see that that's been, decently successful to some extent. And yeah, I think it's certainly an interesting topic, and, it does us no harm to consider these, to at least think about it, right? Because it would be bad if we didn't think about it. And then later, like, man, why didn't we think about that like 10 years ago? At least it's something that's brought up and someone can start putting together some sort of like, hey, here's some feasibility study on how this would go down. Gather feedback from other people. I guess that's kind of what we're doing when we're just chit-chatting.
When we're yapping, we're actually on the forefront, the cutting edge of the sport. We're actually doing a lot for the community right now. Just in the think tank.
Okay. Let's back it up a little. One of us is in the WCA and is actively like making changes. The other one is just a little bit of a complainer. So
that is true.
That's all.
Look, I'm self-aware, man. I told you, I was like, look, it is not my forte to tell you what changes need what avenues we need to do to fix these things, but I'll tell you where there's problems. Like I'm aware that I just blanket am going to make statements, and hopefully it gives you some direction.
We'll see. No, I think lots of interesting topics have been discussed on this version of Dillydally. I think we still have a couple minutes to go before we get into our next match. Dylan, anything that you kind of want to talk about in the last couple minutes before?
No.
Okay.
I think it's cool that everyone here is competing at a college age, because it's hard.
I guess one
Like,
thing I'll say is it is hard to criticize kids. Like, and you've heard me do this on +3, and I actually have gotten flack for it as well. It's like, why are you coddling young? I think it is very, and I guess it comes back to a pressure thing, right? It is like when you talk to an adult can like kind of like deal with pressure to some extent, because they've been through these trials and tribulations before. Whereas like a kid is like who's like kind of like just is not equipped with the same mental capacity to deal with it. And that's also why I think there's a balance between saying that like a kid is like explicitly like cheating or is starting beef or whatever, and saying that you can kind of like speculate a little bit more on what adults are doing compared to kids. So I think that is also certainly one aspect. It's a lot easier to say like, hey, like they need to clean this up, or this was a poor thing. Whereas like a kid is just like, it's just impressive that they are just competing at this ability at all.
Yeah, 100%. It's interesting, like the fact that everyone here is competing at a collegiate age. Like me trying to balance a full-time job in cubing, plus school, plus my own career. It was the reason I dropped out. Like, maybe my time management was poor, and it definitely was. But like, I decided I want to pursue this whole cubing thing, and for what it's worth, like I think it's going pretty solid. But respect to everybody for even making time to get this done and putting on a show for everybody. Like, it's not easy. Respect to the crew getting this done, like on Speed Cubing TV and the currently running CCC team. Like it is so hard to get this all going, and even you and me, the fact that we're able to hop on, like
we're here,
take a few hours out of our day and get this going, like it's cool. And like I just want to see cool stuff happen in the community, and I'm also hyped to watch some great solves from these competitors. They lured me in. They told me, yo, you want to commentate a Matty match? And I was like, oh yeah. I was like,
no,
dude, there's no way I say no. Like, what do you mean?
And I mean, and Matty showed that, right? Like he shown like the diamond he is, and that 463. I think that really that goes to show like what kind of solver Matty is and what he's like truly capable of. Matty unleashed, so to speak. I mean, and we have some great solvers upcoming too. We might as well move into the preview section. And Dilly, this is a crazy preview. So let me just go through some of the stats here. So in the preseason rankings, the upcoming match is UW-Madison, who won CCC last year, by the way, is going up against Rutgers. And in the preseason rankings, UW-Madison was seeded 3rd, Rutgers was seeded 5th. After the round robin, where each team played 3 matches, UW-Madison was ranked 2nd by team average. Rutgers was ranked 4th by team average. And we're getting this matchup in the quarterfinals of all places. Depending on the way you set up this bracket, this very, very easily could be a finals match. Like that's the level of quality I think we're going to see in the competitiveness between these guys. I kind of want to go through some of the solvers also. Dilly, who stands out to you just like from the get-go?
Oh, UW, obviously we have Zeke Mackey, Simon Kellum also pretty good. And then Mahir is kind of like their ace in the hole. Mahir, former Indian NR holder to my understanding, like very, very competent solver, like mid-6. Very, very good. But yeah, Zeke is obviously going to be their anchor here. Zeke in the last set didn't even get a sub 6 to my. Yeah, he got 1 sub 6 in his last match against what team was this? Pennsylvania State. Penn State. Okay, buddy. Yeah, so like, you know, he gets 1 sub-6. Obviously, a sub-6 official. You know, Mihir solves fine, solidly enough. The thing is with CCC is like, as long as you have 2 competitors that are like pretty good, you're in a great spot, especially now with the new format, where it's going to be, you know, every competitor goes twice. The thing with UW is they happened to get a tie in their last match, or in the round robin. They got a tie.
Round robin, yeah.
And that kind of messed up their seeding a little bit. So I think that the seeding isn't showing necessarily how good they really are. They probably would have still ended up second in comparison to whoever got Columbia, right, was first. Or Berkeley is
Berkeley.
first seed.
Yeah, Berkeley was first after round robin, yeah.
Yeah, so they probably would have gotten second compared to Berkeley, but maybe, you know, just so that way you know, played out not in their favor. Okay, yeah, because they went against UNC and UNC ended up cooking. They had Kerry Creech and Zach Oakes, and they both kind of cooked against UW. So yeah, I mean, those are the main standouts here. I don't really know who's on Rutgers, if I'm being entirely honest. I mean,
it's actually
Max
a pretty good
Chan.
matchup. I mean,
wait, Rutgers is actually goated. Wait, we have Max Chan, Daniel Karnos, Sean Mack. These are all like competent solvers, like
these are all
sub-8,
really
sub-7
good solvers. I'm actually really excited to see some of Smack's solves because he has been grinding the ZBLL and has gotten the point where, so in the delegate reports, like he'll mention like how his ZBLL is going from time to time, and he's gotten to the point where he's, you know, he's getting good results with ZB, and it's tough. Like as a delegate, and he's also a pretty active delegate too. It's tough to be able to kind of like focus on your own results while you're delegating competition because you're like, you know, you're there for the community to like run this competition, which takes like a ton of time away from actually being able to practice or whatnot. So I'm really excited to see Smack. We got Derpy Cuber. He's going to be competing once again. I think he's going to be going up against Mihir based on their average over the round robin. And then Max Chan, I actually don't know much about, so excited to see another new face. I think that's one of the cool
good
things
YouTuber. You should watch his YouTube channel.
Okay, well, yeah, I was not in the know. I didn't realize. The other thing which I think is really cool is in the round robin, Zeke and Sean were only 0.01 separated from each other, which means that we are going to see fireworks here, Dilly, as everyone is set up and ready to go. It's going to be wild.
Yeah, we've got is this Simon's actual solve? I think it's warm up.
Yeah, I'm guessing that. Yeah, okay. Looks like this is a warm up.
I was about to say. Okay, cool. Yeah, so we've got Max for Simon. Simon sub-8 solver. You know, has some decent times. Former pure world record holder. Is what it is. Pretty competent. You know, we see in these warm-up solves he's pausing a little bit, so we want to make sure that he's locking in on that. Make sure he's turning a little bit slower, a little bit more controlled, focusing on those look-ahead situations, pairs coming out of slots that maybe he's not necessarily entirely used to. Not too familiar with Max's solving style, but you know, we'll kind of see as this match progresses, kind of what we're going to get out of him. Seems like a sub-8, low-8 solver, so this will be a pretty competitive match.
Yeah, I'm excited to see kind of what comes out here. Simon is also one of the most active competitors in the WCA, attending like loads of competitions. A delegate himself. He's actually one of the best all-rounders in the world, but you wouldn't know it considering that he competes very often with Zeke, who is up there, as well as Carter Kukala. Also, like, yeah, and of course Brian Johnson. All these guys are in like the same like Wisconsin area, which is crazy. It's very, very stacked region for all rounders. All right, enough yapping. Let's get to the solves finally. Max is going to start things off for Rutgers. White Cross is the go-to. Bit of a pause there on F2L number 3, and not a great transition into OLL PLL and the +2 to boot. We're going to look at an 11.68 solve. And
Yeah.
when it's a time like that, when something that I could theoretically beat, you know that it's not going to be up to the caliber of CCC in the elimination.
Okay, Manu. We'll reel that in for a second. No, I mean, +2 obviously hurts here. Like, transitions, honestly, are generally fine. This cube cover is very interesting. I cannot lie. But the little bit of lockups, one thing I want you to know is that there's a free pair on yellow here, and it looks like Simon's going to be taking advantage of this, something that Max might not be able to.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Preserved it very, very, very well. Was the first pair inserted. Just helps your look ahead all the way through. We're already starting with the sub-7 here, 6.87 specifically to put UW-Madison on the board. First blood drawn in this match.
Beautiful. I love this solve from Simon. First pair, he sets it up to where it's going to be oriented in a back slot. No rotations for the next two pairs. Slight rotation for the fourth pair, but like transitions are clean. When you put yourself in a situation like that, obviously this is going to be a sub-7. Great solve from Simon overall.
White cross is the intended cross from what it looks like here. It looks like he picked it relatively quickly. That's good to see. A couple of oriented pieces will help him as well. Slight pause there in the middle of F2L, but a pretty clean last layer, 6-1-1. That's fast.
Dude, Simon's cooking right now. Oh my goodness. This solve was on great pace. Like, it looks like there might be a free pair here on white with that red-green pair. Not entirely sure if that's what he did. Looks like he did because I don't see him solving it. And then he gets that nice little back soon into RA. That's clean. That's a really solid solve. That's something you'd see from like Smack or Z.
Yeah, great stuff there. Max trying to follow that up now. See if he can beat a 6.11. Don't think he's going to get it done here, but it's still like a much better solve than before. Actually, it's actually a worse time overall, 9.9.
It is worse time. Yeah, here, like, there's not as many pauses, but the pauses that he does have are pretty egregious, if I'm being honest. Like, these are going to lose him a lot of time. These little errors stacked up, compounded over a whole solve. It stacks up, and then the solve ends up being, instead of like a mid-9, it's a high 9. And, you know, I would say Max needs to turn a little bit slower, focus on his look ahead and his turning accuracy especially. Just get a clean solve in here, and then, you know, make sure you're inspecting well, solutions are fine, and you'll be good. We have this free pair here on white too, so we'll see if we can do something with that.
8 seconds.
So he's trying to avoid losing this set and going down 1-0. Looks like he broke the pair up, but was able to track where it was going to end up. This is looking a lot better. The pauses are still there, but this is like so much better. And a 6.20, that is a competitive time when you're going up against Simon Killam.
No, this is great. He preserves this free pair in a way to where it's still a 3-mover, but it's not actually a made pair. And then he solves that in the back. Great transitions overall. Super clean. Gets that little soon into the T-perm. Last layer helps him out a bit here, but, you know, Simon's capable of beating this. I don't know if he can do it on command, so I'm interested to see if he's going to preserve this free pair in a similar way on white.
Yeah, Max might have woken up a little bit now. Is it going to be too little, too late? White cross looks like is going to be, trying to switch the orientation at the end, perhaps. No, it looks like he just preserved it outright. I mean, Dilly can correct me once we're done with the solve here, but it looks like he isn't getting the cases that he wants, and a G perm is going to give him an 861. Max going to claw it back 2-1 now.
The good news for Simon here is he's already given himself a bit of a cushion, right? Max hasn't shown that he's capable of getting that 6.2 very consistently. Simon's a little bit locky here. We're just going to chalk those up to mistakes that he is just going to correct for the next few solves. He's been clean the first two, sub-7s on those first two as well. You know, looking at Max's other matches, he's not getting sub-7s very consistently. So, you know, Simon just clean things up, turn solid, good look ahead. Probably is going to be able to squeak this one out in this set with that little cushion.
12 seconds.
Yeah, even just looking at his official results, it's a little bit all over the place. 706 is PR, actually relatively recent, so perhaps he's channeling some of that energy. Certainly seems that way in the first two solves, but in the next two, it hasn't quite gotten it to go, at least at the same way. 815 is going to be the time for Max to beat to tie it up 2-2.
Yeah, he loses a little bit of time here on this this OLLCP recog. He does this like F inverse sexy F prime soon solution. It's pretty fine. He gets an 8-1 here. It's nothing crazy, nothing special, but, you know, competitive enough against Max's previous times that he's put down.
12 seconds.
A couple of oriented pieces here for White Cross. Max now using that double rotation. Perhaps we'll see if that comes to bite him back. But he only needed to beat 8.15. Did he do it? 8.17 by 200ths of a second. Max will lose this set. UW-Madison will go up 1-0.
Yeah, you can see from Max here, he's turning very nervously. the turning is quite sporadic. He drops that 6-2 when things go well, but on these other solves, he's plus twoing, not getting great times. Like this one, you see here those little shakes in between the turns, not turning very linearly, leading to those minor lockups, compounding over the whole solve, gives him a just barely misses out on beating Simon on that one. Could have tied the setup 2-2 if he just, I sound like a broken record here. Just turned a little bit more controlled, a little bit slower. That's really all it is. And like you'd be surprised. Like you look at these top level competitors, like these Yihangs and these Xuanyis, they look like they're turning like crazy. No, that is controlled turning for them. They're turning accurately and smoothly because they have the inspection depth or the look ahead to be able to allow them to do that. Most people here, something that they can learn from.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, it's a masterclass. I think when you do see like top solvers like Matty, there's so much to learn from all of them at any given time. We're getting set up for the second set now. I think it's gonna be Mihir versus. I think this is Derpy's setup. Yeah, no, this is Derpy's setup.
This is Daniel Carnot himself.
Yeah, which is I mean that'll be a pretty good one in and of itself. Mihir over the round robin stage had an average of a 7.56. Derpy 7.65, super close between the two of them. And I'm hoping that that's going to carry over into this quarterfinal match. Yeah, and as a note, our previous match was a round of 16 match for Columbia and Virginia Tech. This is a quarterfinal match. The winner of this is one of the 4 best teams in the country and advances into the semifinal. It'll be pretty exciting, and every point matters that much more.
Most definitely. I mean, I think Mihir is someone who's a little bit more de-rusted in terms of 3x3 solving. Derpy was pretty good in his time. Hasn't been competing as much. Is a little bit more focused on his jazz piano career and music degree. Obviously, these are collegiate cubers. And Mahir's on great pace. Oh my goodness,
Wow.
5.57, exactly what you want to see from him.
Wow. Now we talk about like competitive times and stuff like that, but that's like similar. I mean, that beats several of Matty's solves. And, we're glazing Matty, calling him the best solver in North America. So great stuff from me here. Yeah, amazing stuff to start this off. You want to start off with a bang, give yourself a little bit of a cushion, and he's done exactly that.
Most definitely. I love Mihir's solving style. He has like kind of the Nom syndrome where he keeps the cube very solid in space. If he does that, it turns well. He's going to be great.
White Cross is going to be the choice for Derpy. A bit of a fumble at the beginning. That might have cost him the point here, unfortunately, because the margins are so tight. Looks like he ended up with an 8.6. Yeah, not going to get it done. Even if Mihir had +2, actually, he still would have won the solve. So 1-0 to UW-Madison.
I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of things that cost him to solve. Okay. I'd love to say it's just one thing, but it's a culmination of many things, right? Pause after cross +1, lockups, the fumble in the start. Derpy needs to clean it up a little bit. Just get a very solid start. Get that flow going in cross +1, transition well into everything else. We have this free pair on yellow that looks like we're not even considering, so we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, it depends on what his solution is. We'll have Dylan kind of analyze and try and figure out what maybe made sense in the moment. As Daniel is going ahead with solve number 2 now, 7.77. Certainly better, a step up. But if Mihir is solving like he has been, might not be enough.
Yeah, this solve is just average sub-8 solver. Like, some mistakes, slight transition mistakes. Gets bailed out a little bit by OLL, PLL. Same type of fumbles happening in this start here. But transitions are a little bit cleaner than before. We do this like U into the OLL. Could be a little bit better, but, more competitive than before.
Mihir's turning is looking really good. He's able to turn at quite a high speed without like making too many mistakes, but just as the commentators curse and he's lost the solve on a cube fumble. Had he stopped the timer, it would have been DNF, and fixing it 7.89. He loses it by about 1/10 of a second. And against all odds, Daniel has tied it up 1-1.
This F2L was so clean, and then you get a very clean OLL PLL2. You get F double sexy T perm, and then just fumble on the T perm, drops the cube. That is a gut punch for me here.
8 seconds.
Yeah, that's tough to see. All tied up now. How can you kind of come back from this? Obviously a mistake. Yeah, coming back by, getting, oh man, it's the PLL. The PLL is really costing him. Like, unlike, the solvers that we saw from Colombia, who like had fantastic F12 and could kind of give up a little bit in PLL, Mihir is giving up way too much. And the solvers on the other side, on the Rutgers team, you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. So this is a tough one. 886 is the time to beat for Daniel.
Dude, this was a sub 4 F12 from here, and he did OLL twice and then messed up the PL. That's just really unfortunate to see. And it looks like Derpy's taking very much advantage of this solve, coming out with a low 7 here, 735. Transitions are cleaner, turning is cleaner, everything's a lot cleaner for him. CN solver here for Derpy. Like, Mihir was very clearly on pace to beat this, but, if you're not going to be clean and you're going to lose time on those cube fumbles, like, yeah, you can't allow that to happen in these types of single formats.
Yeah, it's like coulda, shoulda, woulda, right? Like, theoretically, like maybe like had he executed the G perm cleanly, like yeah, maybe he could have beaten that, but that's just not what happened, right? And that's why speed cubing is a very interesting sport. It comes down to the very fine motor movements of all your fingers and whatever finger plasticity, whatever you discussed previously. Red cross solve for Derpy's on solve number 4. He's ahead 2 to 1. But a 9.8 means we could see this tied up once again.
Yeah, too long of a solution, too many pauses, too many rotations. All in all, just not very clean. Lock up in that OLL. PLL is not a great case. Just nothing's going right for him on that one. Mihir just needs to solve very cleanly and solidly, get his footing back, and he'll be great.
Yeah, maybe this will be a little bit of a confidence booster if he can just, get through this without making any major mistakes. A couple of minor mistakes I'm seeing here, but 719 is more than good enough. And he has tied it back up 2-2 in a very back and forth set.
Yeah, it's weird. From what I can see, it looks like the first pair, the actual solution for first pair looked a little bit uncertain, and then it led to just a little bit of time loss. At these margins, like you really can't be affording stuff like that. Mihir seems to have a very like all or nothing turning style, where if he's not going all out, things are going to go great. But ties it up. This is great. We're on match point. Very
interesting time restart where he's like just barely has like his fingertip there, and I don't know, it clearly works for him. 5.68 is an extremely competitive, just fantastic solve.
I see a little bit of me in Mihir, man. I can't lie. He's just gonna turn the cube, and it's either gonna work or it's not, man. And here it works. He gets a 5.6, super clean transitions. Everything's going good. Like, that's great. That's a really competitive time against Derpy.
Yeah, big pause here as it looks like there was maybe some keyholers other going on in F2L. I mean, a good solve from him, but just not good enough, unfortunately. Sub 7 is not going to get it done. And in this back and forth set, Mihir comes up on top, and he's given UW-Madison a pretty big lead now, 2-0. The Rutgers is in the hole, but we got Smack coming up, and he's about to put a smack down, perhaps.
Yeah, this is going to be a great match between Zeke and Smack. I mean, like you said, they're only 0.01 off in median. Looking at the solves here, Mihir, pretty good, a little bit inconsistent. We'll see how that plays out for the rest of UW's matches. I think he's kind of going to be their X factor, right? Like we said, if Mihir is dropping better solves than Zeke was, Mihir's dropping better solves than Smack was, better solve than Matty was in his match today.
Right.
Like, if he can do that consistently as their second solver, that is a guaranteed set every single time. Now, you need Zeke to come in here and kind of clean this up, finish these sets out quick. You don't want them to get this momentum back because, we saw Max get that 6-2. There's a world where maybe he catches a heater against Simon. Mihir's inconsistent. We've seen that Derpy's able to drop these sub 7s, low 7s. There's a world, like, not even trying to just play it up. There's a world they come back from this 3-2. Just being so for real.
Well, it's because it's so tight. It's very, very, very evenly matched, and all of the competitors have the ability to get into that, like, not just sub 7 range, the sub 6.5 range, and it really is going to come down to like a variety of different factors, and some of which are just going to be impossible to predict. So buckle up, everyone. We're on one crazy ride. It's been bumpy so far, but hey, what's a roller coaster without a couple bumps?
So true, Manu. Spoken like Confucius himself.
All right, let's take a look at some. I'm really excited to see some ZB action coming out from. I think actually both these competitors have some good alg knowledge. Smack looking pretty good, not needing to use the ZB there. Ended up with indeed a solid cube, 6.59. Yeah, I mean that's right where you want to be. Very competitive.
Clean turning and accuracy. Turning could have been a little bit more accurate. I mean, overall, I think Smack's turning style is very, very interesting. Not necessarily the style that I would choose to do, but like transitions are clean, TPS is clean, 6.5. You just need to avoid some of these lockups. Obviously, no ZB on this solve. Gets that nice little back soon alg and cleans it up with like a pretty average time for him. And we'll see what Z can do.
Yeah, certainly not a gimme for Zeke, even though he is one of the best competitors in the world. Great turning there, but I feel like the solution just ended up being too long in the end. 732 not going to be enough. Rutgers is going to start their comeback bid 1-0 in set number 3.
Turns out that was actually a +2 from Sean. So unfortunately, it's going to be an 8.5. Zeke takes the win there. So UW is up 1. I mean, not the cleanest solve from Zeke. A few too many rotations. It could have been a little bit cleaner, but overall, it's enough to get the win. That's all you really need, right? It's a singles format. We're not talking about averages. Gets the win over the very fortunate +2 from Smack there. But the pace that we're seeing from Smack is a lot cleaner than what we're seeing from Zeke. So I would not be surprised if Smack's able to come back in the remainder of this set.
Yeah, a couple of missed +2s on my end, so I'll apologize to the audience for that. Thanks to the prod team for correcting me. I'm perfectly happy to get corrected. We were talking about 0.01 difference in the round robin stage. Turns out 0.01 difference in their official average as well. Kind of insane. Both of these being sub-6 solvers, 6-1-2. And yeah, Zeke is showing off the skills that he has. He was in the chat earlier eating some meatballs or something. I don't know what that's all about, but yeah, 6-2.
Yes, I heard some talk about starbursts. I don't know what's going on there.
Dude, whatever he's doing, it's working.
I mean, yeah, man, get your little sugar high, get you a little amped up for the match. Hopefully you don't crash before set 2. Smack's already schmoving on this. Few too many lockers on this last pair. Oh, ZB here, locky on the ZB, not going to be good enough. 8.3. That's an unfortunate solve from Smack. The pickup here is fine. Ola PLL, pause into second pair. Looks like he has a fixed cross. It just doesn't go well after the second pair. So going to definitely want to get that one back. Here you're really hoping that you just didn't +2 that first one. Give yourself a little bit of cushion. The margins here are so small. If Madison takes this solve, the set's over. The match is over. Knowing that this could have been 1-1 set of 2-0, that's a huge swing.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And it's unfortunate, but it's also kind of just, again, it's like, yeah, coulda, shoulda, woulda. It's in the past now. It's going to be a bit of an uphill battle. Need to reverse sweep Zeke of all competitors. A great competitor across many, many, many facets of speed cubing. Sean showing off his skills
so
here. Some
clean.
great stuff. 541.
So
fantastic
clean.
solve.
Oh my goodness, I love that. I was going to call Smack out for not recognizing the free pair here on white. We'll see if Zeke's able to cook something up, but apparently he saw something great on yellow here. Super, super clean transition. Maybe it looks like an X cross. This Olo PLO is amazing. We get that little hedge inverse sexy into T-perm. Oh, that's clean. That is all I can say.
Absolutely capitalized on that incredible last layer, top 10% last layer, as far as at least I would say. Zeke now looking at some great turning, kind of getting messed up there a little bit at the tail end of F2 going into OLL, and that's going to cost him the point, it seems. 7-14. So yeah, here we go. Reverse sweep is officially on.
I can't really blame Zeke for this one. The pace is pretty solid. Looks like the solution was okay as well. We have a little bit of these lockups in that last pair, and then you just get a bad OLL PLO combo. Like, there's nothing you can really do there. You do everything right. Imagine you get the same OLO PLO as Smack. Maybe you catch the dub there if you avoid the lockups too, but obviously shoulda, woulda, coulda. That's what you've been saying this whole time. But if you're Zeke, you just take it as like, what, we take the L. Could have been a little bit cleaner. We'll try to clean it up for next time.
Yep. And next time is coming up right here. Solve number 4, very pivotal solve number 4. Could obviously completely decide the fate of this set and the match. And yeah, Zeke is trying to put it to bed right now. There's the last layer, long last layer. Unfortunately, 6-1-8 is that time. Certainly a competitive time in Sean's wheelhouse. This is not over, folks.
No, definitely not. Smack can definitely take this W here, but Zeke's on looking like great pace here. Even if Smack does get a solve here, it's going to be competitive, and it looks like he's moving right now. Few too
Ooh.
many lockups. That seems like it's already gonna put it to bed. Soon ZB recog exec, and that's just not gonna be good enough. 8-16.
Yeah, that's tough. Not really the way you wanted to end the set here. It's going to be 3-0 now. UW-Madison is guaranteed to at least enter a tiebreaker. When Sean was on, he was looking good. But yeah, I mean, just fumbled kind of early, it seemed there, and the solution ended up being too long. Actually, I felt like the ZB recognition exec actually was pretty good there, especially for a Soon. But just not giving yourself enough room in the first half of the solve to capitalize, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. This was a pretty solid set all between the two competitors here. I mean, Smack definitely capable of taking the W there, and we'll see how the rest of it plays out. I genuinely would not be surprised if this goes down to a tiebreaker. Like I was saying, Max could easily take a set off of Simon. Derpy could easily take a set off of Mahir if he's going to keep solving inconsistent, and Derpy's going to be solid. And Smack, when he's on, is on, could beat Zeke. Zeke was being a little bit locky. Was on pretty solid pace in his F2Ls, but it's not entirely inside their own possibility.
Yeah, certainly. It's been a fantastic match. I mean, this match has been super, super, super entertaining because it feels like every single solve is like close to a top tier solve or is extremely tight. Which is, I guess, like, what we expected. We expected this match to be pretty similar to a finals caliber match, and I mean, for me, I'm loving it. We have the best seat in the house. That's what I always love to say, sitting in the booth. I guess everybody else kind of has like a similar view to us, so maybe it's not the best. We all share the best
the exact same view as us.
We all have the best seat in the house, which works for me. That's chill. It's been a fantastic match so far, and 3 more high-powered sets are about to come out here. Let's see if UW-Madison would
serve them
another
up,
one.
dude.
Oh yeah, dude, please, on a silver platter, or whatever this box is that
dude, I was also thinking the same thing, dude.
It reminds me of those like Danish cookie boxes that are like the sewing sets or whatever. Anyway, back to the match. Let's
what are you on about?
Let's lock it a little bit. White Cross is going to be the choice for solve number 1 of set number 4 in this huge quarterfinals match. Oh, there's some ALG knowledge. Oh no, not quite. I thought that was going to be a ZB. Ended up just being OLO PLL. 738. I mean, that's a good solve.
That's a man out for my heart doing Pi COLL in 2026, man. That's so awesome. We don't need ZB knowledge. I will say there's a free pair on yellow here from my understanding. It looks like Max just has never gone for yellow, so it looks like he's going to be a white only solver. We have this 5 mover here. It looks like he's not going for it. And the cross +1, I think, is already kind of spelled the end of this solve here unless we get a skip. Nah, we get Z perm, of course. You hate to get a Z perm off of solved corners, man.
Dude,
it's the worst thing that you're gonna get, man.
Dude, don't get me started. It's the worst in OH too. It's like for me, it's like you do all this work to orient edges, you do all this work to do a COLO, which might not be the most efficient, and then you just get Z perm. Like, come on, what is the point? Very unfortunate there. Gonna drop the first
bad,
one. Needs to come back if he's gonna keep Rutgers in the match. And maybe he's got a good one here. He picked his orientation very quickly. Now just trying to figure out the best execution angle. Yeah, competitors are so good these days that they can now use their inspection time to figure out what the best execution angle is as well. And he's capitalized at least early. Can he finish off the rest of the solve? A little bit pausey to recognize PLL. 7-18. But, I mean, that could go either way. Simon did get a 7 in the last solve.
Let me give Max his props here, man. F moves for the first pair for a bad edge, and then he gets a 7 mover that's oriented immediately after. That is chef's kiss. As a coach, I love to see it. Maybe he didn't know the EO of the next pair. I kind of doubt that he did. But I'm going to give him the credit regardless because, man, that is exactly what I want to see. Good solution coming out of Max here. Good transitions. Nice little back soon. Super clean.
Little shout out from the blue collar cube scholar himself. Looks like White Cross will also be the choice for Simon. Can he beat that 7 that Max put up? Oh man, the exec error on the PLL 909. No. We're all tied up, Dilly.
Oh my goodness, dude, he had it, man. He was right there. And look, not blue collar, man. Don't do this YD in perm, man. Like, you see he hits the first 3 moves, instant lockup. That solve goes from like a 6-8, 6-9 to like a 9-0, okay? I'm sure he can do it cleanly a lot of the times, but you really need to value consistency in your ALGs. And for me personally, I found that ALG is nowhere near consistent. You want to do the RUF instead.
Especially in the singles format, right? Where like you can't, there's no solves that get dropped. You kind of have to be like on point every single every single point. Very easy to preserve that pair sitting in the back there. He's going into last layer. H-perm now. 732. He's hitting his head a little bit. Maybe recognition could have been better. What did you see there, Dilly?
Yeah, so we have a free pair here on yellow. Simon cleaned up pretty well with free pairs on his previous solves. This is that orange-green free pair. Really clean transitions. He does this U2, he does pi COLL again. People make fun of me for doing pi COLL, and so unfortunately I do have to do the same to Simon. Just do pi, man. Like it's the worst alg anyways. Just take the edge.
Yeah, exactly. That one was just gonna be edge too, so maybe a miss there. We'll see what but miss executed on cross and just sloppy on F2L. Looks like this is going to be 2-1 to UW-Madison. He'll really want that one back. 956, not good enough. 2-1 now.
You can see him lean back in the chair, man. He knows that he threw that one away. I mean, it's hard to tell what was going to happen if he did the cross right. I mean, it's a 9-5. The cross situation was not the only thing that caused these problems. 7-3 is a pretty competitive time for Max to beat. He gets that 6-2 earlier. I think he got like a low 7 as well, but 7-3 is going to be pretty solidly outside of his wheelhouse, at least from what we've seen so far. So, try to clean these things up. See how we can do on this solve. Just forget about it.
I feel like he's definitely losing inspection time to moving the stinking box, because he needs to use both hands to move this box, which is absurdly huge. And maybe, clearly, the cross is not quite there. Same thing happening this one. Hoping that his turning can kind of fix it, but yeah, not able to turn through it. 936. You're now at this point, you're hoping that the opponent makes a mistake, which is not a good position to be in.
No, you never want to put it in the opponent's hands, man. Maybe they mess up. We saw Simon drop a 9 off that in-perm mistake, but if he's looking at what Max is getting, he can very easily safety a 9-6. Maybe he can't handle the pressure of the situation to be able to do that, but it is definitely within his skill range to be able to safety that and definitely put this match away for UW.
And yeah, Rutgers goes down here. It's a pretty big blow. At this point, if I'm looking at the other side of the bracket, we don't have a lot of super strong competitors, competing teams rather, to go up against UW-Madison. So the winner of this one kind of getting, a little bit of a golden ticket perhaps into the final round. Let's see what Simon is going to do here. He's got orange cross on the bottom, but yeah, okay. He's going to end up switching to white cross. Just pick that for ergonomics. And kind of pausey a little bit, but I think he should still be able to do it. Yeah, just barely. 907. It was actually maybe a good strat to go a little bit slower, but did not leave a lot of room for comfort. That's going to be the set win. 4-0 now. That's going to be the
making
match.
It tense, dude. Yeah, second pair he does this U prime 3 thing, eventually does COLL, and then you get OLCP. He hits the OLCP into Z perm. That's the last thing you want to see, dude. We talked about that. He's been getting unlucky with those CP cases, getting Z perms there. He managed to clutch it out, but for the most part, that is not going to be a solve that he's going to be able to beat for the most part. Max, knowing that Simon dropped a 9-0 on that, going to definitely want that one back.
Yeah. It's unfortunate because maybe a little bit of whatever error that happened early. I feel like 3x3 is a really hard event too, because unlike your Mega Minx or Big Cube, if you make a mistake early, there's no coming back. For a lot of people, it's really hard to mentally come back into the mindset to be okay, well, I need to lock in, when it's okay, but any mistake that you make could just insta lose you the solve, which is always tricky. And it's something that Kevin says a lot is when he's commentating, is you should never ever let up. But it's easier said than done.
Of course. Yeah. And we talked about it a little bit with Ben Christie in the last match for Virginia Tech. You would feel silly if you let up and then you get last layer skip. You know what I mean? Yeah. Anything can happen, man. If you give up, you're essentially writing your own fate. But if you keep pushing, you have a chance to kind of make your way back.
All right, so UW-Madison has won the match, guaranteed 4-0. But of course, Rutgers definitely doesn't want to walk away with no sets to show. They're going to put on their best performance. Unfortunately, this is not Derpy's best performance. Sorry to say, 1036. That's not going to be it. Even an inconsistency here is probably going to be able to make that up.
You know, Derpy has a very like loose turning style, I've realized. And it's led to him to have some fumbles. You know, here he's just turning through just like mistakes, having to fix cross, you know, last pair, everything. It just didn't go great, you know? So maybe he's a little bit more prone to this, but I think Mahir pretty comfortably takes this.
Yep, barring any major mistakes, and he's looking good, pretty good throughout the first half. Little bit of a small exec error, 692. He'll probably want something better than that, but that's gonna win the solve, and that's all that matters. He's up 1-0.
Yeah, I think the solution here is just a little bit long. I mean, he gets not great cases. He gets 2F60 F prime in the GD. F2L is like on solid enough pace, you know. There's nothing wild here. It's just a clean sub 7 solve, average solve for me here.
I mean, when you need to beat a 10, kind of anything will go.
8 seconds.
And so, it's perfectly fine if you make a minor exec here or there. Interesting kind of a usage of that, of the free pair that was available. Not quite preserving it. I really would love to see the replay on this. And of course, the Dilly analysis is going to be valuable.
Yeah. I agree. So it looks like we didn't even do the free pair as our first pair. It looks like we did orange green as our first pair, and then everything just kind of like falls apart a little bit. We're just a little bit too locky. Unfortunate situations in LL. Like I think Derpy's in a really good spot to be able to beat this.
7-7 is the time to beat. Yellow cross is the choice. The turning is looking good. Can he recognize and execute fast enough? There's that last layer, 934. So yeah, not quite coming together as UW-Madison takes a 2-0 lead in the set.
Yeah, Derby's just been fumbling a lot on these turns, unfortunately. He does EOZB on that solve, if I recall correctly, just getting that... he does EOZB into T2 GLL, which is pretty, I would say optimal, but unfortunately just doesn't work out for him well in the solve.
So down 2-0. Can he get a set
8 seconds.
to save some school pride a little bit? Yellow cross is going to be the choice for him. Looking pretty good actually on some of this turning. G-perm, it seems to be the final algorithm he executes here. Hopefully not his last algorithm he'll execute in this tourney, as he gets a 7.60.
Yeah, I mean, pretty clean. He has like 2 keyhole pairs, gets this last pair here. Slight lockup on OLL, slight lockup on PLL. It's an average solve. There's like 1 or 2 minor things you can point out, but transitions are fine, but still some fumbles from Derpy coming through.
We're going to do the white cross. It looks like Mahir actually struggling a little bit. Can he close this out? And yeah, it looks like not quite. 8.46 is the time here, and Derpy will get one back.
Dude, Mahir is such a bursty solver. It's honestly kind of insane, but just a few too many lockups, especially in that first pair, and then he's running into too long of a solution. That OLL PLO combo is like double sledge, double sexy into GD, like that, GB. That's just so move heavy, so hard to execute. Like unfortunate situations for him.
8 seconds.
I wonder if it had to do perhaps of like that he knew what time that Derpy got and maybe tried to kick it into second gear perhaps, because I mean when he's solving first, he's solving smoothly, turning smoothly. That's kind of the Mahir that we've seen in the match most of the time, as he gets a 658 and puts up another solid time and very competitive. He's trying to win the set outright here.
Eight seconds.
Yellow cross now is going to be the choice for Derpy. And I mean, this is a pretty fast solve. Oh man, the finish is just not quite fast enough. He loses this one by 0.2 seconds, and the set by that margin as well. 3-1 in that set, the 5th set of this match. And UW-Madison is they're on pace for a complete shutout here in the quarterfinal. I mean, wow, yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, a little bit unfortunate for Rutgers here, obviously. Derby put up a pretty solid fight, I would say. Like, I would say the match is a little bit closer than kind of what the final score would tell you to believe. But, just not clean enough. Specifically, not just like slight turning inaccuracies, not just, recog errors. It was like literal cube fumbles. And those are not things that you're going to be able to do and get away with, especially against a solver of Mahir's caliber.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of been the story of like almost not necessarily who is solving better, but who isn't solving worse. from
Yes.
time to time, which is tough as a viewer, right? Because you want everybody to be solving well, and we're clearly seeing some great moments when people are solving well. So it's just a little bit tough to see matches get decided by inconsistencies, but some of it is also skill issue, right? Like the best solvers shine brightest under the brightest lights, or as I like to say, a lot of pressure is diamonds are made under pressure. So just unfortunate to see who's actually going to live up to that. It's been UW-Madison so far, as Zeke gets the sixth set kicked off with a Mitch 6.25.
Mom, I got a PB, man. I mean, looks like we're going for a yellow cross here. Super clean. I mean, nothing really crazy. Hits that back insert, which we've seen Zeke do a few times. Smack moving on here. Clean Ola PLO. Does that Ola PLO. Could be, it's fine. 6-6. Unfortunately, just a little bit too long of a solution to be able to clean that up against Zeke.
Yeah, I mean, the overall turning, to me, like the untrained eye, seemed pretty good. It just seemed like, the solution was just not quite there to match it. Just wasn't able to be creative enough, set up enough good cases, good solutions, and ended up losing that 1-0.
Yeah, we were talking about being at the mercy of your cases, and at this level, you do need to influence things. And in a situation where you're getting a lot of bad cases, that is unfortunately on you for the most part.
Yeah, that's what separates some of the best in the world, Yiheng Chuanyi, from everyone else. Some unfortunate execution errors, but there's the ZB that will come out there to kind of bail him out a little bit. 655.
A little bit. Yeah,
that's a good one.
If I saw this correctly, this looks like back right ZBLS, and if so, that's like insane tech.
Yeah,
I think so. And then the LZB canceled into the OLL F double inverse. That's pretty. Look, 6'5", solid time. The swag levels are off the charts, dude.
8 seconds.
Now that you've lost the match, might as well use this as an opportunity to test out some of your knowledge. Yeah, back right ZBLS is very, very, very exciting. Oh man, we are just moments away from a absolutely crazy world. 655. This is actually a tie.
Yeah.
So both competitors got 655 here. Zeke and Sean Mack. 655. I think we're just gonna just throw this one out.
Call it a wash.
So we'll have a potential, we might go up to 6 solves here. Crazy, unexpected, can happen in these head-to-head events, especially when the competitors are so close.
For Zeke, it looks like his last year wasn't great. Slight lockups there. He had that. Just avoid the lockup in F-perm. But he's geeked up the tie on that. Respect to you, man. Like that's pretty cool, I guess.
Yeah, pretty lucky for him that even with the even with the fumble, he ended up not really paying the price for it. Kind of got away with one there, with the tie, as opposed to the straight loss. So not bad. Look, more solving is more solving. That's what we want to see. I think the competitors are resolving their cubes so that they can bring up a new scramble. And I think so instead of what the WCA does, which is just kind of move on, it looks like we're just gonna throw out the last points entirely, perhaps. Oh, it looks like there's some sort of issue. I see Smack kind of yapping a little bit with the judges and such.
Good new owner.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm assuming I'm solving this as well.
This one should be new. Could you guys see? It says U prime L R2.
So looks like it's gonna come back to us. So the competitors got the same results. It looks like it's gonna get redone. Oh, I see. And the scramble ended up being the same, I think,
That's the one that
since last time. Also, so they have to pick up a new scramble. It's high drama. I guess it's good for my heart as a old man cuber that this is not for the entire match. The match is already decided. So there's the cortisol levels are a little bit lower, but clearly it could still influence the outcome of the set.
Cortisol maxing, if you will, right now.
No, one thing we want a cortisol min, not max. All right,
Smack going here.
Yep, back to the match. We're all set up. Shout out to the CCC guys. John Shittomantle in the back end, doing a ton of great work, bringing us some awesome content to commentate over. Unfortunately, Smack not really quite getting the solution to go. Dylan's shaking his head. I can see it in my little view. 686 is the time to beat.
Yeah, unfortunately, just the fumble and the cross execution. This lockup here on these F moves, like that's so tough on that ZBLS. Look back here for ZB too, which is just we should never be looking back for ZB. Yishin does this, but you should not. Unfortunately, 6-8 from Smack.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the things where it comes with learning ZBLL. So many cases, 470 plus cases. Of course, it's hard to have all of them down pat. Here's Zeke now, 705. Even with I couldn't tell if it was H perm or Z perm at the end, but he's given one up here, and we're tied up at 1-1. So we went Zeke, Ty, and now Smack to in this crazy set 6.
Man, Zeke rotated for like 3 out of the 4 pairs. Last 2 pairs rotationless. Hits the HCOLL. I don't know what's up with UW and hitting random COLLs where you should just do OLL PLL, but I don't think that's the reason he lost time here. I do think he was on pretty solid pace. Actually, the COLL might have been a pretty substantial reason as to why he lost some time. I think Zeke's turning is pretty good enough to where he can just hit the OLL PLL and he'll be fine. But old habits die hard.
Yeah, certainly. Looks like there's a miss scramble coming out here as Smack pulls out the 6x6 for some reason.
Yo, what? The 6x6?
And hitting the PLL parody. I mean, that
6x6 PLL parody.
I don't know what that's all about, but I mean, look, he's better than I am. So if it works, it works. I mean, I don't know what to say.
That's interesting. That's a interesting tech.
Now we got the Mega Bigs. We're just doing Mini Guilford at this point.
Yeah. Starts with U prime.
Yeah, what is going on here?
Bro, where's the FTO popping out, dude?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Come on, Smack. Oh man, that's hilarious. No, this is a great showcase for all the WCA official events. Speaking of Mega Mix, actually, did you know Zeke recently got
I did.
He
see
recently
this.
got
Top 10.
top 10 in the world. Very, very, very exciting. He's
Shout
really,
out.
really, really moving into that top player, and maybe finally giving the US a push to bring a Mega Minx world record. Although Timofey is so far ahead of everyone, it's gonna be definitely an uphill battle. But we got someone in the top 10. Let's go. It's hype.
That's huge. Of course. We also have Alexi, by the way, who's also in the top 10. But
Oh yeah, of course he's in the top 10. He has the NAR.
yes.
Look, it's 8 p.m. out here. I guess for these guys, I guess for Smack, it's like 11 p.m. So maybe that's affecting some of his turning. Simple OLL PLL there, even though I think it was 2 GLL from my angle. I'll have to see the replay. 633.
That was OLL PLL. He had RB
Right.
RA as his PLL. Look, this is the first time I said it this stream. Blue collar solve, bro. Just straight OLL PLL, nothing fancy. Just turns pretty solid. No major lockups. Gets that RB and gets that 6-3.
Ooh, I was gonna say turning pretty solid is Smack all the way up into ZBLL. But yeah, just a little bit fumble. And that I think that fumble actually probably did cost him the solve as he loses this one 633 to 651. It's going to be 2 solves to 1 for Rutgers. And we're on match point. I guess not really match point, set point.
Yeah, that fumble on that pre-AUF into his exec angle is what definitely cost him the solve. That's an area of your solves where you just can't afford to lose any time. Recog maybe, exec maybe, pre-AUF no.
Yellow cross now. Will this be Smack's final solve here? It's a UZBLL, gets it done. Needs to kind of do UU prime 608. I mean, with ZB, I mean that's good. That's a good time. Zeke isn't consistently beating that. I actually don't know if Zeke has a sub 6 in the match just yet. I can look that up real fast.
Yeah, I mean, Smack turning here pretty solid. It looks a little sporadic, a little nervous. We see a few recog things, a few turning mistakes, whatnot, but culminates in a 6-0. It's totally fine.
Sub 6 to win it here and put an end to this match. And it's not going to happen here. 665 is the final time. We're going to get a solve number 6, folks. It's not something we anticipated, but yeah, more solves is, we're aficionados. We're fanatics. Love to see the cube.
Just too long of a just too long of a solution from Zeke here. Gets the Kame print, doesn't help in terms of move count. Maybe if it does the right thing, I think objectively, but just going to be a little bit too long of a F2L on top of a slightly longer PLL there. It's could be a little bit cleaner, right? But we're moving into our deciding solve of this set. Very exciting. Like we said, two very evenly matched competitors. Let's see how it all plays out.
Yeah, I mean, it would work out quite well for them to split the set count 1-1. Of course, Zeke is going to try and prevent that by putting together a stunner of a solve here. He is the one setting the pace. Let's see what he can come up with. I mean, pretty decent turning through and through. 659. Smack is just trying to kind of calm his nerves a little bit, trying to hang in there. But, I mean, that's a competitive time, and it could go either way.
Definitely within Smack's wheelhouse. I mean, Zeke's just a little bit locky here, especially on those F moves and that wide back insert. PLL here is fine, but just a little bit off the mark.
To be honest, I was largely paying attention to Zeke's mouth movements. It was crazy stuff. All right, here it is. Smack, what can you put together here? Shaking his head and not quite. Couldn't get it done. 7-0-8, and it's going to be a clean sweep for UW-Madison. A ton of close sets between them, just as we expected. But the set count in the end has a 0 on one side and 6 on the other. And that 6 is on the UW-Madison side. They are going to move on in somewhat emphatic fashion. Just not able to close out any of the sets was Rutgers. And UW-Madison is going to be our first semi-finalists in CCC. We're getting close to the end of the season.
Yeah, man, super exciting. Like you said, this was a finals quality match. I mean, the set count isn't going to do it justice. All these people were pretty evenly matched. I mean, even in the sets, the solve counts weren't super evenly matched, but it was pretty competitive. Like, pretty solid all around for most competitors. It's like the biggest thing I've realized commentating CCC is just like, can you be solid?
Yeah.
Like, if you're solid, like, you are better than 90% of people. Even like, Matty wasn't always solid, right?
Mhm.
Like, don't prioritize getting good times, prioritize getting solid average ones every time.
Wow,
And
it
you
sounds
will
like
more
something
than
I've
likely
been
win your sets.
sounds like something I've
Okay,
been telling a certain
hey, buddy,
orange-haired cuber
whoa,
of late
yeah,
recently.
yeah.
So
Whoa.
real rich, huh?
Whenever the WC changes their value system, maybe I'll adjust. I'll adjust my approach.
All
It's a little
right.
bit different in a singles format.
Okay. I see how it is. Oh my goodness. Well, it's been an incredible 2 matches. Thanks to the CCC team for putting it on. Thanks to Speedcubing TV for giving us a little 2 bozos. Well, one bozo and one actual top solver. A chance to commentate this. And congrats to the teams for making it this far. Congrats to Columbia and UW-Madison for advancing in this bracket. And yeah, stay tuned for more CCC stuff. We're getting close. There's only 7 teams left in the entire bracket now, including some of your favorite solvers from around the country. Lots of great representation, and we hope you'll tune in to either Speedcubing TV or Collegiate Cubing Championships whenever the next one is scheduled. But Dilly, I think unless you got any last thoughts before we sign off.
No, man. Just glad to be on here. I'm excited to be here with you, my buddy. We have not commentated since, oh my goodness, 2024.
Yeah, swooping and solve Oxford 2020.
Oh my god, dude.
Oh man, yeah, it goes way back. So no, glad we could finally get into the booth. We're kind of matching a little bit with the gray. I don't know what it is. It was
the gray sweaters. Oh yeah, that was definitely intentional. We're so swag.
No, we were influenced by it. Was partly cloudy skies over Southern California. So call it inspiration or what have you. No, it's been incredible. As I mentioned earlier, continue to tune in to CCC for all matches. This is Speedcubing TV. You probably know who I am. Manu Hall on +3. You probably listen to Millisecond more. Let's be honest. That podcast is incredible. That is hosted right here on the Speedcubing TV YouTube channel. So definitely give a subscribe. Trying to reach 10K subscribers. Dylan already did it, so congrats, Dilly, to that. But maybe more
Is what it is.
more channels to 10K. Obviously, is gonna help Speedcubing grow more and more. PSL Davis coming up this week is also going to be broadcast right here on this channel. We hope you will tune in for all things Speedcubing right here on Speedcubing TV. Well, for Dylan Miller and the rest of the crew putting this amazing set of matches on, this is Manu Hall. We're going to sign off for tonight. Have a great night, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.